Have you ever questioned if a guy was truly right for you? Aren't you tired of spending time with men who you still aren't completely sure about? Well, what if I told you with the right checklist, you can be absolutely sure that the guy you're spending your time and energy on is actually the guy you need in your life? Which is why on today's show, we're going to be discussing how to know he's the one. That way, you can be absolutely sure that the way you feel about this guy and around this guy is how you should be feeling if he's truly the love of your life. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here present so that I know you're here present and actively part of the point. Point number one is about the mask. When you first meet a guy, I want you to be thinking about and perceiving within yourself, right? You have to be self-aware enough to ask yourself some questions. Do I feel like I can be the real version of myself around this guy? Or do I feel like I have to put on or keep my already existing mask? Now, some of you are going to ask the very important question, what exactly is a mask, Thompson? You know, when you go out into work and you present yourself a particular way, right? And when you go out into work, there's a particular way that you present yourself to people, a way that you'll talk. Okay. Some of you tell me in the chat if you have like a work voice that's very different from your everyday regular voice when you're hanging out with your friends, right? You'll have a work voice. You'll have a work persona, right? You might even be a lot more, I guess we can say preppy, right? And upbeat than your regular self, right? You might have a different voice. You might just totally talk different. There's so many different things in the way that your character will be when you're being this kind of fake version of yourself, or whatever the case may be, right? Whether it be because you're at work, whether it just be because you're around coworkers or around people you're uncomfortable with, whatever the case may be, you generally have a mask a lot of the times that you'll put on around other people. The outside world will have their own particular perception of who you are. Now, here's the very important thing to note, because if we're talking about a guy being the one for you, the guy being Mr. Right, or the guy that you should be with in a relationship with, we want to make sure that around him, you don't feel the pressure to continuously keep up with this mask. Okay? Right? And the reason I say that is because if you feel like you have to be this person with him all the time, you'll be exhausted in the relationship because you'll never feel like you can be your authentic true self. You'll never feel like you can express your authentic true feelings. And subsequently, all the time that you spend with him will feel a lot like a job. So what does the real version of you mean, right? It means true feelings. Oops. True feelings in the sense of being able to feel like, hey, when I tell this person something about myself or how I feel, I actually feel safe enough to tell him about this, that he's not just going to throw it back in my face or invalidate my feelings. Now, let me warn you of something that I want you to understand for the entire show. None of what I'm talking about here when I'm saying how to figure out if he's the one is about meeting a guy on the very first date and in the very first 5 minutes of the date, sitting down and expecting to have this answer right away. That's not how it's going to work, okay? You know me, we don't do microwave stuff. We do slow roasting. So what I mean by that is none of this is going to be possible to determine in the first 5 minutes of a date. It's going to come over the course of time where you'll realize I can actually express my true feelings with this guy, and I'm actually safe here that even when I do, they won't be invalidated. Now, the other thing here when it comes to real, right, is in your expression. Now, what do I mean by in your expression? See, we all have a slightly weird side, even me, okay? I know I come on this board, but I get very weird a lot of the time. I want you to understand something that's important in a long-term serious relationship, especially if we're talking about the guy that's going to be the one for you. You need to feel authentic in your expression, in all the different sides of your character, whether it be your weird side, whether it be your freaky side, whether it be your curious side, whatever side that you have. And in the way that you express yourself, that should feel authentic to you. If you find yourself on a regular basis feeling like, oh, I would love to express myself this way, or I would love to be this weird, quirky personality that I know is within me, but every time I think of doing that thing or saying that action, I'm going to hold myself back because I don't want to necessarily express those sides of myself to this person. If on an ongoing basis you feel constricted or you feel like you need to suppress these weird or strange sides of you around that guy, then he's definitely not the one. Because what should be happening is you feel like your authentic expression is the expression that you're allowed to exist in around this guy. Now, the other thing here that we should discuss is, I'm trying to think of how to say this here. Let's see. We'll say it like this. We'll say romance. Now, the reason I'm saying romance in terms of figuring out if he's the one and this part of being the mask is because what can happen a lot of the time, see, you're a woman. And in your womanhood, as you develop as a woman, you start to hear a lot of things about how you should react and respond when it comes to romance. And you hear about please him this way, you know, two-hand twist, gluck gluck 3000. And it sounds great. Yeah, we want you to be great at that. But we also want to understand part of romance is not just his pleasure, it's also your pleasure as well. So when you're thinking about if a guy is the one or not, do you feel like you can be authentic in your expression of also your pleasure? And in also your version of romance. Because if you feel like you need to suppress that side of yourself or suppress your needs or suppress your desires, right? We can also put in parentheses, right? Desires. If you feel it's necessary to suppress your desires around that guy because you feel like he might judge you or because you feel like he might think you're weird once again in your expression of what you need or what you want, what you find interesting or what turns you on, once again, we're in the wrong place because this is all part of putting on the mask around people that you don't want to necessarily get too close to you and know too much about you, but we don't want that to be the guy that you're trying to date, right? We want to make sure that the guy you're trying to date and the guy that you end up with, you feel like you can be authentic in your expression around him. Does that make sense to all of you beautiful people? Okay, let's hop into our point number 2. Okay, let's get this going here. No more masks for you. We're gonna have you barefaced around here. We doing it extremely raw around here. All right, no baby oil. Let's hop into point number 2. Okay, this one's really important. Okay, really, really important. Okay. We draw your big eye head here because you got a really big head. And we're going to draw his peanut head over here. Okay, so point number 2 is about doing nothing. Now, I'm not referring to the doing nothing that we talk about, what you should be doing in attracting men. This version of doing nothing is about in your relationship with him. In order to determine if he's the one, we want to realize, is it comfortable or uncomfortable to be doing nothing with him? What do I mean by that? See, when you're with a guy and you're around him, what I want you to understand is you're going to go through many different experiences with this guy, in many different environments with this guy. When you start off dating a guy, usually what's going to happen is your first date's going to be at a coffee shop or a restaurant or at Nobu if you're dating a really rich man. And here's the thing. When you go to these restaurants or you go to these coffee shops, there's things happening, there's music playing, there's people around, other people might come up to you and ask you questions, you've got drinks, you've got food, you've got coffee, you've got whatever you've got, okay? And there's a whole lot of stimulus happening at this time, meaning all of these things are coming at you, your senses, your ears, your smell, your sight, Everything is happening at once as you're in conversation with this person. This can make meeting someone a lot easier. You don't even realize it because as you're meeting this person, all of these other things happening around you are also slightly taking up a little bit of your attention. But what happens eventually as you continue to date someone and see them is there stops always being stimulus, I should say, around both of you in order to take your attention or captivate your attention at different moments. But the problem is, at some point when there's no longer any stimulus, you have to ask yourself a question. How do we feel about each other? Okay? Because here's something that can happen, and you might only realize this down the road. When you two are just doing nothing, you can start to feel very, very uncomfortable in this mode around him, right? Because you're like, oh, we're doing nothing. Like, what are we now? Like, I don't know if I like you anymore. I don't know if I like this vibe. This is very uninteresting to me. This is very unsettling to me. Why do I feel like this? Please say something. Please do something. Let's go somewhere. And this can be a very weird feeling to have because you're thinking to yourself, why do I feel so unsettled in just silence around this person? What that's really speaking to you, right, is your spirit is unsettled with that human being. And also, there can be an element of you feeling unsafe around that person, which we'll get to later on in the show, where your spirit is actually telling you, hey, I actually don't like being around this person. I feel very uncomfortable with this person, that when there is no stimulus going on to distract me from my discomfort, I actually am able to realize then, when there's no stimulus, that something is off here. Okay, within me. What I want you to understand, okay, if you need, we're just going to draw them as stars here. If you feel like the only time you feel comfort, oops, why am I drawing that like that? If you feel like the only time you feel comfort around a man is when there's all of this different stimulus going on around the two of you, that's a problem. Because if you need stimulus in order to feel comfortable around that guy, he's not your guy. A relationship is never going to be able to survive if you constantly need all of these different external factors to feel happy or to feel fulfilled or satisfied in the relationship. And what am I talking about even when I'm doing nothing? I'm literally talking about the ability to just sit down with this man, look at him, be with him, chat with him without music playing in the background, without going out to a large restaurant, without a whole bunch of lights, even without food, for you to just be able to exist with him and that to be fulfilling to you. It might sound very basic because you're like, Thompson, I'm not no basic B word. So he's going to be taking me out and he's going to be doing things for me. Of course, we want him to do things for you, but we also want you to feel like I still like the guy. I still feel good around the guy, and I still love the relationship, even if we're not necessarily doing anything special. Because feeling like your partner is someone who you would love to be trapped on an island with is the best feeling in the world. Because then you never feel the pressure to be anywhere or do anything in order to feel happiness in your relationship. Remember, when we're talking about knowing if he's the one, we're not just talking about knowing if he's the one for the first couple of months. We're not just talking about knowing if he's the one for you to, flash him off to your friends that he's doing things for you. We're talking about knowing if he's the one for the rest of your life. And the rest of your life is going to consist of high highs with lots of things to do, but it's also going to consist of many mundane and boring activities, some days not much even going on. So we want to ensure that the way you feel around this guy is good either way. Okay, let's hop into our point number 3. Lots and lots of stimulus, but you got to be in your natural element around a man as well, or at least feel good in your natural element around a man. Okay, let's hop into 3. Did I even introduce that, or did I just start going? All right, point number 3 here. This is a good one too. Okay. Some of you might not even realize this one. Even took me a while to realize this. Short body for you in this one. Large head again. Okay. So let's think about this here. Point number 3 is about the first tell. See, it's easy to trauma dump on people, right? Because it's natural to just say, hey, I want to get something off my chest. So whoever wants to listen to me, I'll get it off my chest. But in the opposite sense, I want you to think within yourself and observe this within your own spirit and your own mind. When something good comes to you in life, whether it be money, whether it be a promotion, whether it be, something just good, a breakthrough in your realizations or in your spiritual life, whatever it may be good that is coming to you. I want you to ask yourself a very important question. Who is the first person I want to tell? Because what should be happening is if this guy is truly the one for you, this guy should be the first person you feel excited and ecstatic to tell about something good happening into your life. It's very subtle, but what's also happening here is that this person, right, is also a source of happiness to you. And so the expression of something good happening to your life is like, oh my gosh, I'm excited. And I want to bring this excitement to you because I want you to share in my excitement. You almost feel like this person is a part of you, right? This person is a part of your happiness. And subconsciously, you also have an understanding that this person, when they hear about something good happening to you, they will also be happy as well. It's almost like, in a very weird way, you're kind of sharing the emotion here. Because as you feel good and as you feel happy and you share that with someone who also makes you happy, they're also in turn happy for you because this good thing is happening to you. It's very interesting, okay? So the reason I say all of that is because I want you to observe that within yourself. Who is the first person I want to tell about something good happening in my life? Now, in the opposite sense, you might be thinking, well, actually, I'm in the complete opposite scenario where whenever something good happens in my life, I'm actually very shy to tell this guy because he tends to either put me down when something's good happening and when something good is happening in my life, or to just kind of feel uncomfortable when he sees something good happening in my life. The other day, actually it was yesterday, I was at a restaurant and the waiter was trauma dumping. Okay, I'll just be honest with you. The waiter, I ask a lot of questions, so the waiter started trauma dumping. It's fine. And so when the waiter was trauma dumping, right, she was telling me about how essentially in her last situation, she was with a narcissist, and this narcissist that she was with, essentially, whenever she would hang out with friends or tell him about the good things that are happening in his life, he would literally have discomfort on his face. Oh, yeah, you're going out with the girl. It was a good time. Oh, interesting. Yeah, nice. You're going out with girlfriends to have a good time. Oh, okay, whatever. Right? And physically, he would actually express discomfort whenever she would tell him something good happening to her in her life. Some of you might actually be in a situation like that, whether it be with a boyfriend or whether it will be with a guy you're talking to, where you actually kind of feel a little bit of discomfort when telling this guy about something good happening in your life because you know it will make him uncomfortable. Even though it sounds kind of counterintuitive that someone you care about would be uncomfortable with good happening to you, it does happen. So I want you to recognize that within yourself and within your relationship or situationship with the guy to answer the question for yourself, is this guy the one? Okay, let's hop into our point number 4. Okay, very, very, very good. All righty. Point number 4. I'm going to ask you guys a question in this, so please pay attention. Why did I draw my M like that? Okay. I need an artist because all of this drawing I be doing, it never gets any better. Anyways, I need like an animation artist. Okay. Let's think of this, right? So one of the most important questions to ask yourself, right? Point number 4 is the mirror. One of the most important questions to ask yourself whenever you're dating a guy is, do I actually like the person who I am when I'm around that guy? Tell me, or have any of you ever heard the saying, or have heard someone say to you, I love who I am when I'm around you? Okay, whether it be a friend, a family member, a best friend, a boyfriend, whoever, right? Have you ever said that before or heard that said to you? I love who I am when I'm around you. That saying is exactly what this is pertaining to. Because when you spend time with someone, and I want you to think about this for yourself, when you spend time with a man, especially when you spend extended amounts of time with a man, I want you to ask yourself, do I actually like the person I become when I'm spending a lot of time around him? Do I feel like I represent who I even want to be? Or does the person I become when I'm around him actually very ugly to me? So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Let's say you're in a really toxic relationship. And in this toxic relationship, right, you are doing a lot of things like responding to his crazy by going crazy yourself. So you're crazy, right? You yell, right? You curse. You break things. Right? And in all of this action, let's say instead of you being happy with what you see in the mirror in being around this guy, when you look back on your actions, you actually see someone very, very, very disgusting. You're really, really disgusted with the person that you are when you look in the mirror, because this toxic relationship that you're in brings out all of these horrible and nasty qualities about you. So whenever you look in the mirror at yourself, when you're around this guy, you feel very icky about yourself, even in this relationship, because you know how low you stoop whenever you get around this guy, whenever you're with him or spend a lot of time around him, because of the dynamic of your relationship. He's pulling out of you these horrible and the worst qualities that you possess and bringing them to the forefront. And so subsequently, you're kind of disgusted with yourself here, okay? Now, in the opposite sense, you can be with someone who in your relationship with them, let's say he's a hard worker, and let's say he really loves to go to the gym every day. So he motivates you to go to the gym more, and he motivates you to count your steps every day, and he motivates you to take your health more seriously. Let's say he also has a business, and he motivates you to get your money together, and he motivates you to think about what you want for your future. And so when you're around him, you start thinking about all of these different ways in which you can positively impact your own life and make your own life better. And so when you end up doing that, right, in the opposite sense, instead of all of these negative character traits happening when you're around him, you have a bunch of positive traits exuding through you. And instead of him pulling all of the worst qualities of you out and bringing them to the forefront, he pulls all the best qualities out from you and brings them to the forefront, that by the time you look in the mirror, instead of seeing an image that you're disgusted with, you see an image of yourself that you're actually really proud of. And when you look back at the person you've been, when you're spending that time with him, you're like, oh my God, I actually turned into a better version of myself around this guy. I'm more nurturing now. I'm more feminine now. I'm more in my element now. I feel even closer to my authentic self now being around this guy versus before when I wasn't around him, right? It's a perfect example of this guy being the actual one for you, because you want your relationship to be with a person that brings to the forefront all of the amazing feminine qualities that you possess, not in the opposite sense where he's bringing out masculine qualities within you or bringing out a toxic side of you that you don't enjoy seeing in the mirror. Okay, does that make sense to all of you? Okay, all right. Someone said my ex made me a better person. Why are you not with him? Question mark. Okay, let's hop into point number 5. Okay, there we go. You know what's funny? This is really funny, actually, chat. I asked all of you to remind me to tell me to get a new eraser. And so many of you messaged me to get a new eraser. And you want to know what I did? I still didn't get a new eraser. I still didn't. Very tragic. Okay. So please remind me again so that I don't forget. I know all of you will. And please, every time I say I'm going to do it, and then I still don't remember. And you guys still reminded me. I have a problem, okay? Let's hop into point number 5. Okay. This one, we're going to do it like this. My drawing's not the best, but you get my point. So here we're gonna draw. Oh boy, I can't. You guys know I can't. All right, we'll draw a car. Oh, this is a bus today. It's a bus today. Shut your mouths. Don't say nothing. It's a bus car. Okay, car bus. All right. So let's imagine this here. Okay. So let's imagine you're here in this car. It's a semi truck. In this car bus thing. Okay. It's 2025. All right. We don't even drive the cars. This is a self-driving car. So in this car here, let's imagine this car is on a road, right? And this road is the journey of life, we'll call it, right? Sounds funny, right? The journey of life. Sounds like a book. Okay. So in this journey of life that you're traveling on in your relationship and with this guy, you're always going to be in the present moment. Of course, you can't live in any other moment except for the present because the past already happened and the future hasn't happened yet. But as you go along this journey, eventually, right, you are going to get to the future at one point. It's just a matter of you traveling there. Now, the reason I'm talking about this, I didn't even introduce the point. Point number 5 is about the future. The reason I'm discussing this is because when a guy is the one for you, one of the most important things to take realization and take notice of when you're with this guy is how easy is it for both of you to discuss the future as if it's already happening, as if both of you are already sure of the role you will play in each other's lives. I know I talked to you guys about guys discussing the future with you, but also ask yourself a really important question. When I think about the future, when I discuss the future, is it easy for me to imagine him as he currently is in my future? See, something very interesting can happen in your relationships. You might be, and tell me in the chat if this has ever happened to you, you might be in a situation where the relationship that you have with a man is so toxic that you actually enjoy living in the present, not because, I just want to be present and I just want to feel good right now. It's because you know that the future is most likely never going to work out. And because you know deep down in your soul and your spirit that the future with this guy is not going to work out, you'd rather not think about that too much and rather just stay here in the present and say, hey, today you're going to penetrate yourself inside of me. We're going to feel good for the moment and we're not going to think too far down in the future because we don't know what we're going to be. We don't know if we're going to be together. We don't know how things are going to go. We have no idea about anything. So let's just stay here in the present, not care about what's coming for the future. Let's not talk about it. Let's not address it. Let's just enjoy life for what it is right now. Some of you who are in a friends with benefits situation probably adopt that same mindset, right? Let's not think too hard about tomorrow or next week or next year. Let's just be in the moment, okay? Sounds good in a movie script, but in reality, it doesn't actually help you get to where you want to go. And it's a very clear sign that this guy is not the one for you. Because the idea of the future, even for you as a woman, should become very comfortable for you to think about, for you to discuss, and for you to feel in your heart. One of the things to realize too, you could be dating a man who you don't even in your own heart consider to be husband material. I'm going to say that again because some of you probably missed it. You could be dating a man or seeing a man that in your heart of hearts, you don't even consider to be husband material. Why could that be happening? Because you're going about your dating life how you feel in the moment or whatever is convenient for you in the moment. But when you're actually thinking about what it would be like to build a future with that same guy, with those same character traits, you're honest with yourself in saying, he's not that guy for me. He's not going to be that guy in my life. He doesn't have those character traits. He doesn't have those personality traits. He's just not him for me. But I'm still here living in the present because that's what feels good right now. Very grave mistake and also very clear sign that this guy is not the one for you. Okay, let's hop into our point number 6 here. Okay, nobody making fun of my cyber car truck bus thingamajig. Okay, you get my drift. This is an art class, so I have to keep reminding you all. Okay, don't expect no art skills when it comes to me. We have communication skills in this show here. All right. So we just talked about the future. Now let's talk about this very important aspect of relationships. Okay. Now let's imagine this. And we're going to put you on this side. And we're going to put him on this side. He got a little peanut head. Okay, so you are cook. And he is, put this right. He is prep. Okay. I know some of you are like, what are you getting at, Tomisin? I'll explain it to you. So let's think about this here. Point number 6 is jobs. Let's imagine a scenario so that I can explain to you why this is important to realize if you want to know if a man is the one for you. Let's imagine you and a guy have to get dinner done in 30 minutes, okay? You're really hungry, really starving. It's the end of the day and you need to get this done. You're both on a crunch period. Now, in order to get dinner done fast and efficiently, both of you have to adopt your own particular jobs in terms of getting the dinner done. He's on the prep side, which means he's got to slice, right? He's got to also, we'll say, organize. And well, let's say in terms of the prep, he's got to set up, we'll just say, all of the ingredients, all of the different vegetables and fruits that you guys are going to be using in this meal, all of the spices, lay everything out for what they need to be. We'll also say he'll measure, okay? Right? He'll measure things. He'll size things up, get all the cups out that need to be scooped out, everything, all the materials that need to be organized in order to do this job, right? You're going to do all of the frying. You're going to do all of the, obviously, cooking, the boiling, right? You're also going to do all of the, I guess we can say, baking, if that's even required. So the reason I'm giving this example, right, is in a situation and scenario like this, where both of you are preparing a dinner and both of you have your own separate jobs in order to do this properly. Both of you have to be doing your job properly in order to accomplish this goal. What can't happen, though, is if you're the cook that's supposed to be making sure everything is fried at the right temperature. So as he's slicing and organizing, you're setting up the fryer, making sure there's enough oil, there's the right kind of oil, making sure things are the right temperature to be cooked or boiled or baked, making sure all the stove is clear, making sure you have the right pots and pans and materials to use, right? While he's slicing up the vegetables and setting everything up for you, right? You have your own particular role. But what will happen is if you're in a scenario in which you don't feel like his skills in terms of meal prep are good enough, you're going to start looking at what he's doing and saying, you're supposed to be slicing those vegetables smaller than that. Maybe I should come in and start slicing the vegetables for you because you're not slicing them at the right size. Oh, you're supposed to be setting up this thing this way. So if you can't do that properly, let me come in and let me start organizing this how I think it should be for the setup when I start cooking. Here's the problem though. You're supposed to get dinner done in 30 minutes. If you start doing his job, what does that mean you can't do? You can't do your own job. And so the more and more you start doing his job because you don't feel like you can trust him to do his job, you slow down this process, right? And you have a lot less of an efficient I guess we can say outcome here, because instead of you guys getting dinner done in 30 minutes, maybe it takes you 2 hours, because not only are you doing your job, but you're also doing his job because you don't trust him to do it. And then you go back and do your job. And then he just stands there like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do because you won't let me do anything. And then even when you start doing your job, you start feeling resentment towards him because you just finished doing his job. And now you're also doing your job as well. So you're like doing double the work. Why do I give you this analogy here? And why do I want to point this out to you as it relates to him being the one? because when he is the one, you won't feel like you need to do his job. Okay? You won't feel inclined to, you won't feel compelled to do his job. You won't feel like it's necessary to do his job because you'll feel like he's already doing that. So how does this apply to relationships? In the feminine, which you should be in, and in the masculine, which you should be in, you should feel like he can take on the roles that a masculine man should be taking on. And you shouldn't feel like it's necessary for you to take on his roles because he already has those things covered. I.e., let me give you a perfect example of that. If you're in a relationship where you feel like, if I don't go about the business of reserving the table at the place that we said we're going to go for a dinner date, and making sure we're on time, and making sure that we're both scheduled and ready to show up at that place when we're supposed to show up, and that our reservation will be there and be ready for us to eat at that restaurant, and you feel like you have to take on all of that responsibility in order to actually show up and have a nice meal at a nice restaurant, you're in the wrong relationship with the wrong man. Because you feel like he's incapable of doing his job, to the point where you feel like you are needing and compelled to do his job for him, that you don't even feel like you can trust him to do his job. So once again, just like in our analogy, you end up doing his job, then you end up doing your job. But in this scenario, when it comes to masculine and feminine, the longer you end up doing his job and existing in your masculine just to exist in this relationship, the longer you end up being and staying in your masculine in this relationship. And a lot of times you'll never revert back to your feminine. A lot of times what will happen is instead you guys will start to flip-flop positions. As you take on more of a masculine role and start doing more of his job, he'll take on more of a feminine role, sitting back and relaxing and receiving, not saying or doing anything, and just letting you do all the leading. We don't want that, right? So in order to know if he's the one, you have to ask yourself a very important question. Do I feel compelled to do his job? Because I don't trust him to be able to do his job as a masculine man. If within my spirit and my soul, I feel compelled to do his job because I don't think he's capable of doing it, I'm in the wrong relationship, okay? Let's hop into our point number 7, okay? Let's get it. Point number 7 here. Chat, have you ever been with a man that you felt like he couldn't do the most basic of basic tasks as a man, that you had to do his job? Tell me in the chat. Have you ever felt like that? That you were with a guy that you had to do all of the man tasks that he was supposed to be doing? Very tragic. Okay. Okay. Now, let's hop into this point here that I want to discuss with you all. Okay, this one's going to look weird, but just imagine this is sweat on you, okay? You're very, very frantic. Let me put one that everyone will be able to understand. Okay, just going to draw out 2 different scenarios here for all of you, and then we'll discuss. Okay, so no eyeballs here. We'll give you eyeballs in this one, no eyeballs in that one. All right, so point number 7 is about safety. Now, what am I referring to when I'm talking about safety? Am I talking about him fighting guys to the death for you? No. What I'm discussing is the element of safety you will feel in a man's presence. This is something I want you to pay very, very, very close attention to about yourself and about your spirit. If you find yourself on a regular basis, now obviously you're not going to feel safe with someone who's a stranger to you on a very first date. But what should be happening is when you get with a guy, you should start, as time goes on, feeling more and more safe with him. What safety elements am I talking about, right? So if you feel, let's go first into the unsafe category to kind of describe what I mean about safety, right? If you feel like around this guy, you are You are not protected from the standpoint of, hey, if I'm with him, I don't necessarily feel like I'm protected by anything. In fact, if anything, I'm probably in a more dangerous situation because he can't even control or handle himself. So I definitely know he's not going to be paying enough attention to me to protect me with anything. The other thing is, right, conflict from the standpoint of, hey, do I feel like this guy is a very aggressive type of guy that being with him is going to put me in a situation where I'm now between a rock and a hard place trying to, I guess, minimize situations that could easily escalate because of how aggressive and how much conflict this guy attracts. I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean. If you're with a guy that gets drunk a lot and gets belligerently drunk a lot, so every time you guys go out to a club or a bar together, he's always starting a fight with other men because of how belligerently drunk he gets, you don't feel safe with that man. It doesn't matter if he's going to beat up those men. It doesn't matter if he's going to knock them out. You don't feel safe from the standpoint of when you're out with that guy, you feel like you have to be watching for the next sign of conflict because anyone that says something, anyone that bumps into him, anyone that even has, just the wrong look on their face might end up having a conflict with him, or he might end up starting one with him because that's just his nature. You're not going to feel safe that way walking around with that guy. Here's the other thing here that very, very sad, right? This is one of the reasons why I don't even like the idea of drinking, getting drunk and going out to town with my girlfriend. For this exact reason, or I would never do it really for this exact reason, not anymore at least. Tell me in the chat, do you ask yourself a very important question? Do you right now as it stands, or ever in the past, been with a guy that you feel like when you and him go out, you're the one that has to take care of him? Tell me in the chat. The reason I ask this is because this can be something subtle that you don't realize is happening, but is very important in terms of answering your question, is he the one for you? Because this safety aspect, right? Even though going out on town is fun and it can be a good time for everyone to let loose and get things out of their system, at the end of the day, if you feel like that man's caretaker, it doesn't say a lot about your relationship and this guy being the one for you. Because you should not, feeling like someone's partner and feeling like you nurture him as a man and you nurture him in the relationship is very different from feeling like his caretaker. Okay? So if you go out with a man who likes to get really drunk to the point where he's stumbling all over the place or throwing up on himself, or he likes to get really high to the point where he can barely move, you're going to feel very unsafe with that man. Okay? And tragically enough, I have been a club promoter for many years in my past, and I've seen a lot, okay? I've seen girls carrying their own man home after the club with vomit all over his shirt. He's stumbling all over the place, can't even walk, and she literally has his big body, like arm around her, and his big body, she's carrying him and helping him get into the Uber because of how belligerently drunk he is. I've seen it many times, okay? It's very sad. But the reason I say that is that might be you, or that could end up being you if you're in a situation like this with a man who you just don't feel safe with because you don't even feel like he can take care of himself, okay? I see a lot of you saying never. I would hope this never happens to you, but I see it happen, okay? And this is the thing, right? In the opposite sense, when you feel safe with a man, obviously you feel protected. But also something very important, that I want to point out, you feel emotionally safe, right? So it's not just about going out with him and feeling like if there was a fight to happen that he could knock someone out. It's also about feeling emotionally safe from the standpoint of, oh, around him, I can be in my feminine state. I can relax my mind. Emotional safeness is also about feeling like, remember how I talked about your man planning the date and being able to handle the reservation and the timing and the everything? It's also about feeling like, oh, I'm safe to let my mind go. I'm safe to not be on edge about are things going to work out if I'm not the one doing all the planning, all the thinking, all the organizing. And it's not about saying that you're incapable of that. You will be capable of that. But what we also want to understand is if you don't feel relaxed enough in your relationship that you don't trust your man to be able to take care of certain things, then you're in the wrong relationship and you're with the wrong man. I don't know if any of you have ever seen any of these TikToks or Instagram reels where people will be talking about couples. It'll be like a video of a couple, and this girl will be like, my brain, whenever I'm with my man, and it's just empty. She's just thinking about random things and like has no idea what's going on, right? Not because she's dumb, but because naturally, as a woman, when you feel emotionally safe around a man, you kind of shut your brain off because you don't really have to do so much critical thinking in order to exist around him. It's not that you're stupid, you just feel so safe that you don't feel it's necessary to be firing on all cylinders when you're with your man. Now, obviously, when your man's not there, you start to have to fire on all cylinders to exist. But naturally, when he's in your presence, you feel so safe and so protected that you don't have to worry about yourself, in a sense. And you kind of exist more in a feminine state because your mind is so much more relaxed and less on guard, okay? Because your man is kind of like your guard dog. It's a great dynamic to have. I don't want you guys to shy away from that. So if you end up in a situation or with a man where you feel this level of protection and you feel that level of safety, right? And you feel that level of safety, that is a good thing. If you feel yourself, okay, that your brain starts to shut off whenever you're around that man, from the standpoint of just feeling like, I know he's going to take care of it because I know he's smart, capable, intelligent, and has the critical thinking skills to figure it out. I'm not the one that needs to be doing that. That's not even my specialty or my role or my job. That is a good thing. And I want that for you. And I want a situation like that for you and a dynamic like that for you. Because if you're in that dynamic, then that definitely means that he's the one for you. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about the 7 that we just discussed here today? I know they're a lot and I came at you very, very fast. If you guys have any questions about them, you can ask them now. I will answer all questions related to this show about if he is the one, okay? And if you guys have any questions for me that are unrelated to the show that we talked about, but they're about your relationship or your situationship or just a man you're talking to or seeing in general, you can go into the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube, click where it says private relationship advice, and you can ask me a private question about all of the details of your situation or your relationship, and I will give you my perspective or my advice on it. And I'll send you a voice message of my perspective and my advice on it. No matter how much information or answers you need, you can always ask me that way as well. Okay. Someone says he's not great with planning. Is he still the one? If you don't feel like your man can handle something as simple as planning and scheduling for the two of you, he's not the one for you. I'm going to tell you that straight up, because that already means that you don't trust him to do what should be his job, right? The planning and the scheduling in terms of your relationship, you should feel like your man can do that. I'm not saying you can't ever do that, but you should feel like your man is capable of doing that. If you feel like he's not, you're automatically going to be putting yourself in a situation where you're always having to be in your masculine in order to exist, okay? Right? LP Baby says, Tomisin, it's like, you know, the inner mechanisms of my mind. Hey, it be like that sometimes. We're all connected through time and space, okay? Space Girl says, I'm washing dishes, but I had to stop and dry my hands just to let you know. Thank you for your show, for this show. And it is very true. Thank you. I appreciate that, Space Girl. I appreciate you putting aside the dishes just for me, okay? MP says, what about protecting you from other people attacking you verbally? What do you mean attacking you verbally? Like just on the street, just spewing, you know, obscenities at you and curse words at you on the street? In that sense, for sure. Obviously, he should protect you or at least stand up for you, right? That's very important. But why would people be just attacking you verbally randomly? What's the reason for that, right? Haley says, what if he checks all of them, but he's too freaked out? What do you mean he's too freaked out? Like he's too freaky for you? Like he's on a different freak level than you? Then we're talking about sexual compatibility. We should actually, I had in my notes a show about sexual compatibility, but that's about sexual compatibility, which is definitely something you should be thinking about, because that also is going to determine whether you guys are going to work out or not. But if you feel like you and a guy are very uncompatible or incompatible, sorry, I should say, sexually, then that also means the relationship's probably not going to work out, because you guys have to have a compatibility level on that side. If he's super freaky and you're super vanilla, you're not going to be, neither of you are going to be very happy in your relationship. Okay. MP said, like, other girls being mean to you, or his siblings being mean. If his siblings are being mean to you, as your man, he should check them. Other girls being mean to you, if it's like your friends, then obviously they're your friends. What is he supposed to do? Check your friends for being mean to you? You kind of have to, in a sense, stand up for yourself from the standpoint of they're your friends, right? If you don't like them that much, then you should distance yourself from them. But his siblings or someone in his life, like a family member to him, even his mom or dad, he should check those people when it comes to you if he's your man, okay? Whitney says, what do you do if he doesn't walk you on the inside of the sidewalk? Do you say something? Okay, that's actually a great question. Let me say this. In a perfect world, men would grow up with the understanding of exactly what they need to be doing at each point. Now, I wanted, because this is very delicate, I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying, I think that an expression of things that you enjoy or would like to happen is good. What I don't want, though, is I don't want you trying to turn a man into something he has no desire to be. So when we're talking about walking you on the inside of the sidewalk instead of on the outside, I'd rather you tell a story of how much you enjoy that or how important you think that is in a general sense. Allow him to take that in. And if he has a desire to kind of be that man for you, he'll take it in as, oh, this is something I should be doing for my woman. Now, in some cases, you might have to bring that up multiple times for him to realize that, hey, this is something that you really enjoy. But if you can make it a little bit impersonal and just bring it up as something that you think is a really good part of a healthy relationship, and he also has a desire to have a healthy relationship for you, that will be one of the things that he's like, oh, I should be doing that as well. The reason I'm saying that is because I have to be real and honest with you. Not every man grows up with a dad, number one. Or an ability to have a resource to understand, hey, these are the type of things that you should be doing for a woman, right? Like a man that's a good dad will grow up and he'll be teaching his son, hey, when you're with a woman, you make sure that you're walking on the outside closer to the street or closer to the cars, and she's walking on the inside, right? Will you look at this. They're trying to bring Matthew Hussey on the screen. Those are the type of things that you want. Just be aware of them, and you want to bring them up in a soft sense, in an impersonal way, and then allow him to decide what he wants to do with that. If he's like, I'm not doing nothing for you, I can't be bothered to do nothing for you, then you know what type of guy you're dealing with there. Okay, but that was a very good question. Luna says some men don't have the luxury of having a father, though. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying bring it up as something that you think is important in a healthy relationship. And as a woman, that makes you feel safe and protected, right? It doesn't have to be, hey, make sure you do this for me or do that for me. Bring it up as something that serves your happiness. And then if that guy actually has a desire to make you happy, those will be some of the things that he'll start implementing, because he'll realize how important that is for you. Because like Aluna said, and like I was saying earlier, not all men grow up with a father that will be able to teach them those things, even though it sounds like they should just already know them, right? You have to get that from somewhere. Justice Liberty says, who said that about the sidewalk? Almost no guys know about this rule except my dad. Well, think about it. Who do you think your dad learned that from? Probably his dad. And then he's going to pass it down to his son, right? So those are some of the things that men pass along to each other, their sons, that sometimes if a guy doesn't grow up with a dad, or his dad doesn't instill those things in him in a smaller sense, right? Outside of like getting flowers and holding the door open, they don't understand, that they should be doing those things, unfortunately. So sometimes you want to work with a guy and see how he feels about that, right? Tia says, all men know the rule, they just don't care sometimes. I wouldn't necessarily say that, because you have to be taught that by someone. Not every man gets the privilege of being able to have a man in their life, a father figure, to teach them those small things. That's why we need fathers, okay? What if he has a problem with directions and can't find places? Well, are you saying like he has a problem with directions, like it's actually one of his character flaws, even when he's trying to figure out directions, he gets easily confused. That's different from saying he just doesn't have the capability to do it in general, right? If he's someone that is a little bit directionally challenged, at least the desire to do that or to try and figure that out or to figure out a way around that is good, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you have to meet a man that's absolutely perfect, but the same way he's gonna have some weaknesses, there will be other places that he has strengths, I should say. So the other question to ask yourself is, even though he's directionally challenged, is he still doing a lot of things in the relationship that I don't have to necessarily be the one worrying about them, right? So for example, just because he's directionally challenged, that doesn't mean he's incapable of planning and scheduling and organizing a date. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just because he's directionally challenged, that doesn't mean he's incapable of being a good man to you. Just because he's directionally challenged, that doesn't mean he's incapable of being intentional with his relationship with you. Do you understand the difference, right? So you can extrapolate even one thing and still ask yourself, does he have intentionality in dating me, right? Do I feel like I have to do all of his jobs for him, even in the places where he doesn't have a deficiency, so to speak, right? Directionally challenged is kind of funny. I agree. Blue says, for the third point in the show, for first tell, what if it's not reciprocated? Me feeling he's the one, but he is more reserved with communication is foreshadowing a dead end. Blues, I agree with you, actually. So obviously you recognizing that a man is the one for you, if he doesn't feel the same way, you can't force him to feel that way. So ironically, even though I'm talking to all of you and all of you are women, a lot of these things can also apply to men as well if they're feeling like you're the one as well. So if he doesn't feel like you're the first person he wants to tell good things happening in his life too, then that should be something you clue in on, that maybe the two of you are on two different pages. Because I do believe, especially as a man, that if a man really, really wants you and wants to be with you and feels like you're the one for him, his excitement whenever something good happens will be, you'll be the first person that he wants to share those things with as well, right? You'll be each other's first person, if that makes any sense, okay? Lizzie says, is it a red flag if he doesn't have a good relationship with his dad and he opened up to you about it, about him being a bad kid in his 20s? He's a grown man, by the way. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if he doesn't have a good relationship with his dad and he's honest with you about that, I don't think that that makes him a bad person. You know, he can't necessarily control that. He's the child, right? So the relationship he has with his dad is more a little bit on his dad. Not to say that he has no responsibility, but that's just an expression of what it is in his relationship with his dad. So I don't think him sharing that with you makes him a bad person. But if I were you, Lizzie, I would ask him how he thinks his lack of relationship with his dad has affected his life and his personality and his character. Because if a guy doesn't have a very good relationship with his dad, then you might have to be a little bit understanding of why he might approach certain things a certain way without having a father figure in his life, right? Because good men can still derive from families in which they don't have a direct father figure, like they don't have their father in their life, but you're probably going to have to work with them a little bit to understand where they're coming from and why they might have some gaps in their knowledge, okay? So there's nothing wrong with that. We all have character flaws. For point number 4 is sharing, how to vet the guy so he doesn't cast the evil eye and project insecurities. People can be envious and jealous. I don't like sharing my plans, so no one can sabotage them thoughts. Here's the thing. Oh, I think was point number 4 about the first tell. Let me go back and see. Oh, you're talking about point number 4 was the mirror, but you said for sharing. Tell me again, reorganize your question, because I'm a little bit confused, because you talked about sharing, but point number 4 was the mirror. Someone says, if he keep talking about his bad past experience with all of his exes, is it a red flag? At the beginning, I actually want you to learn about his past experiences with his exes, but as you're learning and hearing about his past experiences with his exes, you should be asking yourself a very important question. When I'm hearing this, does it sound like this man still is in love with any one of his exes, or still has feelings or attachments to them? If that's the case, then I need to stop this growing or investing myself in this guy anyways. The reason I say whether a guy is trauma dumping about his exes or whether he's just telling you stories about his exes, I don't want you to worry about, oh, is it a bad thing that he's sharing with me or not? It's never a bad thing, because you will either get one of two answers. Either as he trauma dumps about his ex, you'll realize that maybe, you and him can actually work out, or the relationship is perfectly fine because you'll learn more about him. Or as he's trauma dumping about his ex, you'll realize this is actually not a guy you should be investing your time in, because he's in love with his ex, or his ex is still actively in his life, whatever the case may be. In which scenario, it's good for you, because then you get an answer. If a man doesn't talk about his ex or his past experiences, you don't have an answer of whether or of how he truly feels, what he really thinks, and what he's really been through. Having an understanding of what a guy has been through in his past will always benefit you. It will never be a bad thing, even if the benefit is realizing he's not the guy for you. Okay? So either way, it's a good thing, even if it's just to get rid of him faster, right? Dania says, long-term relationship, he doesn't make an effort to get to know my family or friends. Is it a red flag? I actually talked about that in our sex timeline. Maybe we should do a love timeline on the things you should be looking for in your relationship if it's going to be long-term. Anytime a guy is either isolating you from his family or friends, or he's purposely trying to avoid meeting your family or friends, you should be taking very close note of that, because when you are not ingratiated in a man's actual real life outside of just you guys going on dates, and he is not ingratiated in yours, it makes it less real. What I mean by less real is that he can present to you any person that he wants to be to you, and it's easier for you to believe in whatever he presents to you if there's nothing to confirm who he is, or sorry, I should say no one to confirm that what he's telling you is actually the truth, right? So if he's avoiding meeting your friends and family as well, that also should tell you a lot of what level he thinks the relationship is at with you. Because a guy who says, no, I really want to commit to her, will also have no problem meeting your friends and family. A guy who says, to be honest with you, I'm just messing around with her, will be very, very keen on avoiding meeting your friends and family, because he'll be like, why are we trying to make this more personal? I'm literally going to dump you, break up with you, go back to my ex in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. I don't need to be meeting your friends or family, right? So definitely something to think about. I would say that's definitely a major red flag. Kiki says, what if he wants you overly invested in his family's life? I don't think that that's a bad thing. If a man wants to bring you in and make you a part of his family, it's actually a good sign, because that means he's trying to ingratiate you into his life, right? His family is always going to be there. So the fact that he's trying to ingratiate you in that actually communicates a lot of seriousness on his part, because trust me, guys aren't going on first dates with a girl they just want to smash and thinking, hey, to make this more real, let me introduce her to my mother or introduce her to my father or they're not thinking like that, okay? The last thing that guys want to do if they're just trying to smash is introduce you to their family, where their family will be realizing what they're doing here, right? Like, how efficient would that be to be introducing every girl he's just trying to smash and dash with on to his family? That wouldn't make a damn bit of sense, okay? So meeting family and even meeting friends can be a very good thing. It can also give you a lot of knowledge, okay? Someone says, he says he is committed, but acts immature, shows narcissistic traits, no effort, that demands you to act masculine. Actions seem pretty intentional to me. Well, then you kind of have your answer. If you're saying that everything is not working how it's supposed to, and he's showing you all the signs of someone who you would not want to be with, then you kind of have your answer, okay? Someone says, is it a must to find a rebound before finding someone new for a serious connection after a long toxic relationship, or just give it some time? No, my advice to you would be just give it some time, okay? If you want, stay abstinent for that time. I actually think the most powerful thing, if you've been in a toxic relationship, the most powerful thing for you to do is to just be abstinent for a couple of months, meaning you're not kissing anyone, I'm not saying you can't talk to a guy or have a conversation with him, but no sexual intimate connection with any guy for a couple of months. Not kissing no one, no one's touching you, you're not touching no one, you're not, none of that, okay? And just allow yourself to breathe for a bit and reconnect with who you are outside of a guy, and refine that part of yourself. And then after it's been a couple of, and I really mean abstinent, I mean like don't even touch yourself, okay? And for a couple of months, and then once you have cleansed kind of your soul and your spirit from that last person and that last partner and refound yourself and refound your groove a little bit, then hop back into the dating world and see what it's about in terms of romantic relationships. That's my personal piece of advice. Okay, to his channel. Let's start off with our first reaction video, which comes from Mr. Montaigne.
Want to know another absolutely disgusting secret about men that they definitely do not want you to know? And as usual, this is an absolutely foolproof method, so please pay attention and do not tell anybody that I told you. I'm not even sure if men are aware of the fact that they do this, because I definitely wasn't for a long.
Sorry, just to pause for a second. Someone says, can I send you a video? Yes, you can tag me in it on TikTok. I should have mentioned that. Or if you're in our Discord, you can send it into the Tomisin Reacts segment. I should have been reminding you guys of that. You can send me videos on TikTok. Just mention me in it and I'll look through my mentions.
For a long time. But when we like somebody, generally speaking, it works on a 2-strike policy. Let's say you've been talking to a guy pretty recently and things are going well. Whether you know it or not, he is going all in pretty much immediately. Not even in terms of trying to rush you. It's just that he knows from the moment he met you that he wanted to date you. Now, here's the big secret. This is what always leads to people getting ghosted or feeling confused or feeling like someone just fell off the face of the earth. Because when a man gives you so much of his time and makes himself available to you, if you take advantage of that one time, he's going to make a mental note whether or not he's aware of it. Because of that, he demotes you in his head. He used to view you as this perfect person. Now the problem is he feels like you've taken advantage of him and his time. So you get a free pass the first time, but if it happens a second time, he's not even going to break up with you because he's not going to realize how much it bothered him, but he's going to mentally demote you. He's going to stop responding like so quickly. He's going to give one-word answers. He's going to start pulling away, and you're going to start feeling like, what the heck? Because he doesn't even really know he's doing it. But it's because in his mind, you already hit 2 strikes. When we like somebody, generally speaking, it works on a 2-strike policy. Let's say you've been talking to a guy pretty recently, and things are going well. He knows from the moment he met you that he wanted to date you. Now, here's the big secret. This is what always leads to people getting ghosted or feeling confused or feeling like someone just fell off the face of the earth. Because when a man gives you so much of his time and makes himself available to you, if you take advantage of that one...
Okay, so I was trying to rewind because I wanted to see exactly what he was referring to in terms of what he meant, taking advantage of. Now, here's the thing. Of course, relationships are a give and take, so I don't think it's meant to be one-sided on either scenario. Now, I'm not sure exactly what Montaigne is referring to when he's talking about taking advantage of someone's time. But I'm assuming what he's talking about is making a guy feel like you're only on the date for the purpose of like getting free food and you don't actually care about him or are invested in this relationship, or that you are talking to him as a means of just getting attention. Okay, that can be another thing that happens. Now, how do we avoid all of this or all the scenarios that he's discussing? I want you to only focus your time, energy, and attention on men who you actually see yourself being in a relationship with. And once you get to the point where you don't no longer see yourself in a relationship with that guy, just stop giving your time and attention to those guys, right? And make it clear to them that you're not trying to waste your time or theirs by exploring something that you don't even feel is necessary for you. And I know, listen, I know it's easier said than done because attention can be like a drug for all of us. We all love attention. But for you as a woman, I especially don't want you to waste a lot of time casually talking to guys who you don't even deem to have the qualities that you want in a relationship, because what's the point, right? Everyone's wasting their time. We want to avoid time wasting as much as possible.
I'm outside this nigga house. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. When niggas start acting funny, baby, it's time to investigate. When a man deviates from his routine, something is up. Because niggas are predictable. So when they become unpredictable, it's because they cheating. I've been here since 3 o'clock in the morning. He didn't answer the door. It's a strange car outside. Baby, I went to sleep. We both can play this game. I gotta leave sometime. And I'm gonna be here when you do. You thought I was gonna go home? No. I'm still here. I'm still here. And it's gonna be here until somebody leave this motherfucker. Okay? Okay, update. It's literally 8 o'clock. And this nigga is still pretending to be asleep. I'm outside this nigga house. It's 7 o'clock in the morning.
Here's the thing. See, listen, I'm not saying being an FBI agent is bad. Like, I'm not saying trying to figure out and get answers is bad. But here's the thing about situations like this that I don't ever think gets addressed enough is that this type of situation, and no diss to Nianmi, okay, let's call her N. No diss to her. A lot of times when you find yourself in a situation like this isn't like the first thing that has happened that was suspicious. You've been through many situations that were ultra suspicious that got you to a point where you said, no, I feel like something is really happening here. And most of the time, you know, you're not going to be wrong when you get to the point where you're outside a guy's house, right? And you're staying there till she was there from 3 a.m. It was then 8 a.m. She was taking this video, 8 a.m. She was taking this video. When you're at that point, you've been through so many incidents that there is no possible way it can any longer be a happy coincidence, right? You know, like for example, a guy's planning your surprise birthday party and maybe he's talking to you a little weird or he's a little bit aloof or whatever. And then you realize it's just a surprise birthday party and that's why he was acting weird. But once you get to the point where you're having 5, 6, 7 incidents and then you're saying to yourself, I've got to go over to his place and I've got to look outside and see which car is at the house and who's going to leave and you're already in a clear sign of a relationship that's not going to work out. Now, listen, I understand sometimes for your own personal just peace of mind, you want to know what it is to figure out for yourself that you're completely done and it's completely over. But a lot of times I do fear that if you're at this point where you're outside the person's house till 7, 8 a.m., that even if you do find the thing, like let's say hypothetically, the girl walks out and she's got a big old booty and she walks out into her car and she drives herself home. My fear is after seeing that and realizing that, you'll call out the guy, then the guy will just lie about it or make some silly excuse, and then you still be with him anyways. In which case, why be outside the house till 3 a.m. if you're going to get your answer and stay with him in the end? I'm not here to cast any blame. I'm just saying, you know, if you're going to do this and you want your answer, when you get your answer, make sure that your solution is to walk away, not your solution to chit chat. Oh, why'd you do it? And yell and this and then go back. Don't do that. Please don't. Please don't.
Are you gonna marry her?
I don't really see myself getting married, so probably not.
Thoughts on that?
I try not to think about that right now.
Wait. Sorry. What did he look like again? Let's rewatch this.
Are you gonna marry her?
I don't really see
What did she look like again? Let me see.
myself getting married, so probably not.
Thoughts on that?
I try.
Let me rewind it again. I think my eyes are playing.
Are you gonna marry her?
I don't really see myself.
Does he have spacers in his ears? I don't know. I'm genuinely asking. I don't know. What style is that one? What do you go and ask for at the salon when you get that one? What does she look like again?
So probably not.
Thoughts on that?
Okay.
Try not to think about that right now.
It's worked so far.
Yeah, I guess.
Thoughts on that?
I'm not also I'm not like looking for marriage or anything right now either. So
you don't care?
Yeah, like if we are lifelong partners, and that's fine.
Why not get the tax advantages?
That's what I was thinking also. It does make sense, but
What taxes are you paying?
my usual W-2. This is the first year where I have to worry about actually like setting
But I tell you, I'm not gonna say what's on my mind. But I tell you, boy.
setting aside money for taxes.
Yeah, you have a weird situation. Yeah, you probably.
But I get like the
barely
tax
pay any taxes.
Yeah, but I get like
I can't say it. This is not. I can't be me. Let's
get the tax benefits, but I would never push him. I don't want it to be like a shut up ring or anything like that, where it's like if we're together for like 4 or 5 years, like, and he still says like, no, I don't want to get married. Then at that point, I don't know. I guess I'd probably find something else to get more.
What? Let me not be mean.
more serious with, but
Yeah, I would hope so.
Never mind.
but I don't expect it to see it that way, if that makes sense either.
Yeah. Like a big
You gonna
issue.
marry her?
I don't really see myself getting married, so
I couldn't even listen to anything that they were saying here. I was too shocked. The whole video was just shocking to me. They should actually put a graphic warning on top of this video. It's too shocking to watch in one go.
Where it's like if we're together for like 4 or 5 years, like, and he still says like, no, I don't want to get married, then
Her teeth are straight. There's got to be some. There's got to be some. She's got a nice facial structure. Look, she's got her makeup done nice. Look at her hairstyles looking nice. Her glasses are nice. She's dressed well. She's in shit. I don't understand. I don't understand.
and at that point I don't know. I guess I'd probably find something else to get more serious with, but
yeah, I would hope so.
I don't expect it to see it that way, if that makes sense.
I don't even, sorry chat. I'm trying to, okay, we might have to watch that whole interview because I want to get to the bottom of how she even ended up in this situation. Maybe it's a small town, a very small town, although people from small towns usually don't have this type of look, no offense to him, but maybe if it's a small town that she lives in where there's not a lot of people to meet, because I don't understand. I'm really trying to fathom, because it's not like men won't approach her. That's my question. So I'm really confused. You know, like I could see a rich man approaching her. So I'm very confused how she even accidentally ended up in this situation. I'm very confused. Chat, do you have any logic here for me to follow? I'm very confused. I don't understand how she would even accidentally end up with this guy. I don't get it. It's not like he's rolling it. I don't get it. We might have to do a deep dive because this is just confusing. This actually just made me mad. This should become with the trigger warning. Okay, I don't get it. It's the D.
But
Yeah.
It's the D. Listen. I'm not an expert in human anatomy, and I don't know what anyone's carrying on them. I have no idea. So are we gonna? Is there a consensus that this guy he has a huge D, like out of this world D? I don't know. I'm asking you guys a question. It's not me for me to judge. I'm asking y'all a question. You guys think that he's got a huge D making her go crazy? I'm just asking you. I'm not. Is not. If you think this is okay. Let's move on.
No need to argue with a man. Never argue with a man. Never go back and forth with a man. That is very pointless and it's worthless. When you're going back and forth with a man, all you're doing is allowing him to take more control over your mind, more control over you, period. See, a detached woman would just allow that man to say whatever he needs to say and ignore him. That's it. That drives a man even more crazier. So you start realizing that men will get more emotional when you don't say shit. Just be quiet. If a man want to start arguments with you, if you want to say something, see, this is how you can still be detached. When a man wants to argue with you and go back and forth with you and everything, all you can say is very calm. You ain't got to go off. This is all you got to say. I never met a man like you. You're very different, but not in a good way. What do you mean by not in a good way? See, he already emotional. See, you already got him triggered. The men I've dated, I didn't have to go back and forth with. I feel like I'm talking to a woman. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. See, you ain't got to say anything. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to explain. Yeah, but the men I've dealt with didn't have to say anything. They didn't have to explain. But okay. That's a detached woman. See, now you're going to have that man thinking, what type of man should think I am? I'm not emotional. See, they are. When you don't say much, you just allow them to just bullshit, talk, and all of this nonsense, whatever they want to say out their fucking mouths, you start seeing that they are way more emotional in their own way. I promise you. That's why I said, stop arguing with them. Let them argue with themselves. And the crazy thing about it, they drive themselves even crazy. And then they want you even more. All because
They're not used to dealing with a woman like you. And it's funny because they'll call you masculine and all this stuff. No, baby, you just never dealt with a woman that don't give a fuck.
But here's the thing that I want to say to that, because I get what she's trying to say, but I think the approach is a little bit misguided from the standpoint of if you actually feel like the man you're dealing with doesn't embody the character traits that you're looking for, like being a masculine man or being able to handle business, as the kids say, then why even bother talking to him in the first place? Why try to do or say some things to trigger his ego or to trigger his emotions to try and get him? Because let me explain something to all of you. If you talk to a man like that and you trigger his ego or whatever the case may be, he's not going to say, oh, she don't think I'm some type of man and make some sort of 180-degree change. All he's going to do is feel like adversarial to you and feel like he needs to, one up you or, show you what's good, whatever the case may be. And it's not going to be by treating you well. It's going to be by trying to bring you down as well. Like a lot of guys are just going to grow a lot of resentment, and then it's going to be a tit for tat type of thing. Oh, you want to say something that hurts me? I'm going to say something that hurts you too. So I'm saying all that to say, if you find yourself with a man like that, I don't even want you to be dealing with him. I don't want you to be figuring out how you're going to talk to him in a way that's going to trigger him, or talk to him in a way that's going to help him realize how little he is or small. Like, what's the point, right? If you feel like you're not with a masculine man who embodies the character traits that you're looking for and the husband material that you're looking for, don't try and talk him into being that. Just find yourself a different man. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know it's easier said than done, but you're not going to doing this is not going to talk him into being the guy you're looking for. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Keep that in mind.
It's always the broke men arguing against men being providers. Well, we shouldn't have to pay for everything. Baby, you can't. We know you can't. We're talking about the real men. It's always the broke men arguing against.
I think Christian's really funny. Christian's really funny. We should one day, I should try and get him on the show one day. I'm sure he's a very busy man, but he's really funny. I think this is funny too. I do agree though that when you don't have money as a man, then you have a problem spending money as a man. It's just very simple. When you have money as a man, you don't give a damn about spending money as a man, especially on your woman. I'm not talking about random woman, but your woman, you don't give a damn about spending money. It's money. It ain't nothing. It ain't nothing to spend a little money on. I'll agree with that 100%.
What you doing? I'm a little lonely right now. I miss you.
I think I'm just about to take a shower.
Dang, so it's like that. You really gonna take a shower without me?
And you're blocked. We're not gonna do that. The audacity. So who is this girl that's always...
I think this is really funny because someone said this to me literally the other day. In my DMs are actually very crazy. But anyways, let's go on.
in your comments on Instagram all the time? Who is that?
Oh, baby, that's nobody. You don't gotta worry about that. That's like my sister. I've been knowing her for years. Like, that's nothing.
Bloop. And you're blocked.
I don't really believe in titles, and I don't think we need one because me and you, like, we know what's up. Like, we know what time it is.
Bloop. And you're blocked. We're not gonna do that.
So what I really want to know is, since you have all these standards for me, what do you bring to the table?
Bloop. And you're blocked.
Grand Rising Queen.
Bloop. And you're blocked. We're not gonna do that. The audacity. Rise up and send the grand. Send the cash. Don't send the text. Send the cash, and that should stop.
What you doing? I'm a little lonely right now. I miss you.
I think I'm just about to take a shower.
Dang, so it's like that. You really gonna take a shower without me?
And you're blocked.
If you guys seen my DMs, you would laugh. Anyways, let's just move on.
If a guy is breadcrumbing you and you want to ruin his life, here's how you do it. Guys breadcrumb because they believe that they've set the hook and they can put you in the stable and leave you there until they need a warm place to put it. What you need to do is make it abundantly clear to him that he is not the only guy on your roster. Go out with your friends to raves, bar crawls, go out on dates, keep it anonymous, but document it. Guys who are breadcrumbing you are going to watch all of your Instagram stories religiously because they want to heart every other one to kind of keep you on the hook. But like if you got on Instagram and saw that your dog was going on walks with another owner, and he sees 2 plates, 2 glasses of wine, and a veiny hand with an expensive watch across from you, he's going to hit you with the tried and true, is this a date? This is where you want to be ambiguous because you're breadcrumbing him back. So winky emoji, rose, something. Step 3, this is where you bring the anvil down. Eventually he's going to try and link up again because that was the whole point, right? Was to have a subscription to Uber eat you out. When he tries to link up again, just hit him with a no thanks. So then all of a sudden he goes into all 7 stages of grief, including bargaining. Oh, come on, I'll send you an Uber, it'll be fun, we'll get dinner, blah, 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 please. This is where you hit him with it. You're a very unimpressive person and you're boring to talk to. Breadcrumbers are narcissists. Narcissists need attention from other people because they don't have any self-respect. So saying this to him basically proves to him that his charade is easy to see through. If a guy is breadcrumbing you and you want to
see that. I want to see this first point again.
Guys breadcrumb because they believe that they've set the hook and they can put you in the stable and leave roster. Go out with your friends to raves, bar crawls, go out on dates, keep it enough.
I mean, I would say to do this if you are just wanting to kind of like leave him on a note where it's like, oh, you messed up and you're not really getting access to me. I don't want any of you to do this thinking, hey, I'm doing this and then this guy's going to want to be with me again later, or I'm going to go back to this guy. I always know you guys are always interested in the question of, oh, how do I make a guy regret losing me? He actually has to lose you. So this is kind of like one of those versions of that. If you want to kind of show the breadcrumber that you mean business and you don't got time for that, then you actually have to not have time for that and mean business and move forward. You can't be using these strategies to feel like, okay, I'm going to get the breadcrumber to be back into my life as not a breadcrumber, because that's not going to work. He's just going to get you back and then do the same thing as he was doing before.
This is the psychology for why men return to a woman's life out of literally nowhere. When you understand the psychology of why men return to a woman's life, you'll understand men overall in a better light. So I'll give you guys a few reasons as to why a man would return to a woman's life. One of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest one, is validation or an ego boost. If a man suddenly disappears for months on end and then you randomly get a message, hey, sorry, I've been busy with work, he's not really checking up on you. What he's doing is seeing if you're going to give him access for an ego boost or for validation. You think he suddenly grew some sort of emotions for you? He didn't really miss you throughout this time. He wasn't even thinking about you throughout all this time. He just wants to see if you're there to stroke his ego. The best move here is silence, because when a man does this, he's not offering anything special, anything significant, anything of any value.
Most of the time, he's not even going to meet up with you. It's literally just, I just want to see if I wanted to meet up with her, if I wanted to smash again, could I possibly do? I'm telling you the truth. I'm a guy. So guys actually sit down with each other. And if a girl gets brought up, oh, yeah, so-and-so, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I messaged her the other day. I could smash anytime I wanted to. Like, that's all they need a lot of the times. Like, they don't even need the idea of actually doing it. They just need that, oh, if I wanted to smash, I could smash. And that's enough for them to share with the boys that, oh, okay, I see you.
He's simply checking in to see if you're going to boost his ego or not. Common phrases that he'll say when trying to return back into your life is, I miss you, let's get back together, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. Don't give into it. Another reason is the realization that the grass was not greener on the other side. In a lot of cases, men will think that the grass is greener over there on the other side, but then they realize, shit, hold up, this grass ain't even watered. Let me go right back to where that bitch was watered, because this motherfucker looking real yellow and burnt. Some men will leave because they think they can do better, and then they return because they realize they couldn't do any better. It's this idea of having an abundance mindset, the idea that another train is coming along, the illusion of endless and limitless options.
So think about this logic as well. If a guy is broke, has nothing going on for himself, and he pulls you, and you're like, oh, how the kids say? I think the kids say mythical pull on TikTok now. They say it's supposed to be like, oh, like a super rare pull. So he pulls you. You're like a mythical pull. Super bad. You're a dump truck. Super voluptuous. Everyone thinks you're amazing. And you're like the Asian woman that we just saw earlier, okay? And he pulls you. For example, that guy that was with that Asian woman that we just saw earlier in the TikTok, after he gets with her, how long do you think it's going to take him to realize that his desirability in the marketplace, his desirability, his place in the desirability hierarchy is very, very low? No offense, right? And then he's going to say to himself, oh, wow, maybe I might have to reconsider what I was talking about, commitment and this and that, because out here for me, I can't see nothing that was coming close to the girl I was with before. So I'm realizing how high I was shooting at that point in my life.
Then they get bit in the ass and they realize that dating's not as easy as they thought. So what do? They hope to return back and pick up where they left off. Another reason is loneliness and nostalgia. Men and women process breakups differently on average. While you're crying your eyes out and you're journaling, you're getting therapy for the breakup, he might be out there enjoying himself in casual flings with his friends, partying it up, living a life of excitement. But then that nostalgia creeps in And the first thing he does is hit you up. When he does that, it's not about wanting you back, it's about soothing his discomfort. Never forget that. And another reason for why men will return to a woman's life is because you were always the safest option. Men love comfort, so they'll always return to that which feels familiar or that which they know is comfortable. But do not make the mistake of believing that just because a man returned to your life, it's about actual love, because
You want to know the ideal scenario for a guy? To be with you in some capacity, obviously sleep with you, then kind of like let things fizzle out because he found a new woman that's even sexier that he can sleep with. Then let that fizzle out. And then as he's in these in-between stages, each one of these girls he can continuously go back to and re-talk to sleep with on a continuous basis until he finds the next new girl that he's going to kind of be with for a little bit. So for guys, it would be ideal to have like a bunch of like 3-month things where he explores a woman for 2 or 3 months or whatever the case may be. And then each time he goes on to a new woman, his in-between stages where he's finding the next new woman, he's able to go back to his well, so to speak, of all the old women. And instead of having to kind of get to know them and redo the process of the dating and the words and the messaging, he just gets to resume it from wherever it left off. That would be an ideal scenario for most men who are just trying to hop from girl to girl. Obviously, men who are trying to find one woman, that's not what they want. But for the men who are just trying to hop from girl to girl, that's why they don't want just their roster, so to speak, to just be constantly cycling new girls over and over again, because that's exhausting. They want it to be get a girl, go through her, use her, and then put her on pause, explore new girls. Then when you're ready or you're bored, take that girl off of pause, deal with her again, pause her again, go, like it's just a jump back and forth type of thing. I know it sounds horrible, but that's the honest truth. Okay. Let's hop into our next segment of the show. Our next segment is a very special segment. Okay. For those of you who are OG Players Club members, you know what is coming. So I want you to spam it up you better spam it up in the chat. For those of you who are new here, maybe you don't know what is happening, but it's a very special time. It's a very amazing time. And it's a time where you're going to laugh and you're going to cry. Don't look at your clock. Don't you dare. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your phone. Don't look nowhere else in your entire home. If you don't know the time, I am going to tell you the time. Loud or quiet, chat? Loud or quiet? Loud or quiet? Which one are we doing? Score time. Okay, chat. Okay, chat. Okay, chat. Enough silliness. Let's hop into our Discord segment of the show. For those of you who have no idea what I'm referring to, I'm going to explain how this works right now. Discord time is where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their relationship or situationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, there are a few different ways for you to send in your question to me, and I'm going to explain all of those different ways to you right now. Now, the first way is by going into our free relationship advice forum by clicking the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Click where it says Players Club Discord, and then you can drop your question in here in our free relationship advice forum. Now, I'll warn you, this is a first come, first serve forum, which means I have to go in the order that the questions were submitted. So you see all of these highlighted questions here. These are questions that I haven't yet gone to because there are a lot of questions and I'm only one person. So if you do ask your question here in our free section, just keep in mind, it's probably going to take me a couple weeks to get to yours simply because of the nature of how many questions there are in this queue. Now, If you are unwilling to wait that long in order to get your question answered because you really need it to be urgently answered, like today or in a couple of days, you can't wait that long. This is also our premium relationship advice forum and section. This is for people who want to speed right past the queue line and get me to answer their question ASAP. Now, the way that this works is that you go to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube, click where it says premium relationship Discord advice. Then when you click that, you're going to be prompted to donate to the show. And then also in your donation, you'll send in what your Discord username is and then the title of your question or what it's going to be. Then when you put that in, I get a notification on my phone and then I'm able to see that that's you and that's your question. And then that way it makes it easy for and fair for everyone in the chat here that the people who are in this premium section will skip the line, obviously. And then I read out the free section for section questions afterwards. Okay, so it's like a skip the line pass at a theme park. All right, now for those of you who want to send me in a question but you don't want all of your information read out on the show because you're a more private question, we have also a private relationship advice hotline where essentially you can send me in a question. You can type it out as many paragraphs as you want, and when you send it in to me, I respond with a voice message, usually 8 to 10 minutes long, and it addresses your situation, gives you advice or perspective, whatever it is that you need on that. This link is available. You can see it in our Discord here. It's also available in the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Just click it where it says private relationship advice, and you can ask me your question there, type out as much as you want and submit it to me that way. And I'll send it back to you to that same email you submitted the question with. Okay, let's hop into our first question of the day. This is just you letting you know that I skipped looking at an old friend differently. Okay, I'll remember to do that one today in our free section, okay? All right, so this one comes from Sis. Oh, wow, I see a lot of pineapple emojis. Oh, boy. Question about future and phone. Hi, Thompson. I've been trying to open up a conversation about our future with my boyfriend because on our vacation in Florida, he kept mentioning how he wants to move here. Every time I'd remind him I'm going to med school in a state far from Florida, he'd either say he would send a jet for me to visit or ask me not to go to med school and just marry him, or he would change the conversation. So of those options, the one you're definitely not going to do is not go to med school. Okay, you're not going to do that. That's not one of the options. Okay, so just when he brings that one up, just ignore it because that's not one of your options. When I tell him the first two solutions were unrealistic, he would end the conversation. I decided to go through his phone because I was thinking, what if he's unserious about the future while I think I'm going to marry him? Here are some things I found out that I don't mind because they had happened before we became official. I went through I think this is the first time we've ever had I went through his phone message. I went through his messages with his best friend and brother, found out lies about pineapples. Only one girl when I was in Lebanon. He had pineapples with two when I was, you thought it was one. And then he actually had pineapples with two girls. So pineapples is just SEX for those of you who are new into the chat. When I was in Lebanon, and two, the first week when I came back, he was being honest about only liking me because he was analyzing whenever I take long to respond, as the four girls he slept with before he just bragged about them. I also found out he had a Hinge a week before he asked me to be his girlfriend. That was in his messages. I also found out that he lied about fixing up the girl who took a pic in front of his car with his friend. What do you mean by fixing up? Him and his friend pineappled her. Oh, whoa. So, okay, so I'm going to read this how she's meaning it. So you're saying that your boyfriend and his friend ran a train on this girl that took a picture in front of his car. This is before you, but you're finding out that girl is not just a random girl. He ran a train on her. Okay. And he sent a video of her to his brother and best friends of her on his car and how he lifted up her skirt. And pineappled her, and they told him, good job, because she's hot. I'll save it to the end. We'll talk about this at the end. I found out when I saw your picture of I found out when I saw the picture of her on his car. He called his brother that day. Sorry, I think you meant to put in here. That day, he called his brother, and his brother made up the fixing her up with my friend lie for him. Oh, okay. So obviously, there's a lot of Players Club lore here that some of you might not be missing some context. I'm going to give you guys quick context. Sis has been sending in messages for many months now. And so this is her boyfriend for a couple of months now. Like I think probably like 3 or 4 now at this point. Or yeah, probably closer to 4. And so she's finding out some things that happened kind of before they started officially dating. Type of thing. So this is where a lot of this is stemming from. I also found out that the famous girl who would always comment on his pics and would swipe up on his stories and talk about how gorgeous I am, like so you, and he would respond with thanks, I know, and tell me she was into him, but he friend zoned her because she had a boyfriend and would flirt with him, so she's a hoe. I found out he used to flirt with her too. I didn't see any friend zoning at all. I also saw every time his friends or brother would send hot OnlyFans girls, he would not respond. What do you mean send hot OnlyFans? Like in a chat? Like they have a group chat where they're sending each other OF girls? That's very weird. I'm not gonna lie. He sent once to one of his friends, but it was over 5 months ago. Okay. All these things, I'm not going to lie, that's kind of weird. Like, even as a guy, I don't have a group chat. Like, me and my guys, we don't send, I don't know. That's a little bit weird. I'm not going to lie. All these things I didn't mind because I understand he knows the type of person I am and he loves me and wants to be with me. So he lied about those things to make himself look better and keep me. They all happened before we became boyfriend and girlfriend, so that's fine. I found 2 things I couldn't forgive and just burnt in my heart. These happened after we became boyfriend and girlfriend. He sent a picture of a pretty girl that followed him to his friend. He was on call, so I don't know what he said. The picture was, it was on a call. And then you said the picture was out of context, but he probably said something bad. Okay, that's an assumption. We don't know if he said something bad. This hurt me so much. The famous girl liked the post I chose for him of his. He screenshotted it and sent it to his friends, texted him famous girl's name liked, I'd still hit. I later on asked him a general question about why guys would talk like that about a girl while they have a girlfriend, and he said probably because the other girl is badder and they want to smash her. That made me feel worse. I am prettier than the famous girl, but he was out here lusting over her, thinking she's hotter than me. He also said that if a guy lusts over a girl when he has a girlfriend, it's because she catches him. It's because if she catches him, he would go for the other girl because she's hotter. Okay. He gave the example of when he was with his ex and saw me, he wanted to date me. That's a horrible, why would he give that example? That's a horrible example. But I took it as he's dating me. He wants the famous girl. That's a horrible example. You don't want someone that says, yeah, while I was in a relationship, I saw someone else and immediately thought to myself, I want to be with that person instead. That's not the mindset of the type of person you want to be in a relationship with. Okay. Cause like, the reality of it is no matter how hot and sexy you are, there will always be a hotter, sexier girl than you at some point, right? Even if you're the hottest, sexiest girl in the world, at some point you'll get older, then there'll be a hot, sexy, younger version of you. So I'm just saying that's a troubling mindset to hear from what's supposed to be your partner. I got disgusted by him and was off the rest of the vacation in Florida. And when he asked what's wrong, I said, period cramps. So he got me Advil and a heating pad. I was still off and he asked why, and I said, because he gave unrealistic solutions to us being long distance when I'm in med school. If he were to move to Florida and he was just talking and he wasn't actually gonna, and he said he was just talking and he wasn't actually going to move. He teared up about how much he loves me and is intentional about me. Okay. this is very bad. I'll be honest with you. We're going to have a discussion about this at the end, but the fact that there seems to be a place of contention, like aside from the girl stuff about all that other stuff, okay, that's already in its own thing. But this is bad from the standpoint of we're now talking about a situation that is eventually going to come to rear its ugly head. What I mean by that is this is an unavoidable roadblock. You're not going to not go to med school, and I'm sure you're already keen on where you're going to med school. So if your life is in a particular place, which is in Florida, and his life is in a completely opposite place from that, we're not going to be able to come to an understanding here from the standpoint of I don't think that his solutions are even realistic. Okay. I also brought up that the famous girl, he must have given her some sort of attention for her to comment on all his posts before he met me. He denied it, and I asked to see his messages with her, and he said okay. And when he showed me, he deleted his really flirty text he had sent her before we met. I'm assuming you know that because you saw them, like beforehand. The burn in my heart didn't stop until I remembered he looks up to his brother a lot. His brother is an ugly, I don't even know if I can say that, douche, who used to date 10 girls at once and cheated on his ex-wife a million times, then got mad when she cheated back and acted all innocent. He's married to another woman now and calls other girls bad as F, even in front of me, his little brother's girlfriend. He sends my BF so many OF girls. This is horrible. I started thinking maybe the reason he'd said I still hit was just to seem cool in front of his friend and because of his brother's bad influence. Huh. This is not good. What made me think that was he was so burnt and in pain from the sun. What? I was showering typing this, but he still hand washed the dress I wanted to wear that was dirty without me knowing and hung it outside to dry. I kept thinking how much of a sweet person he is, so I forgave him. Then I remembered the I'd still hit comment, as well as the screenshot of the pretty girl that followed him, and I resent him and feel as though I should break up with him because he will probably lust over other girls in the future and maybe cheat because he can pull and have pineapples with any girl he wants from what I saw in the messages before we dated. I feel bad for my parents now because it seems like dad was right about having a bad gut feeling about him. Can you tell me why he would say I'd still hit when I'm his girlfriend and why he'd screenshot a picture from pretty girls' profiles that follow him? Can you explain it to me? That will make me forgive him in a way that will make me forgive him and not resent him. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be honest with you. Should I break up with him? If so, how do I do it without showing him I went through his phone? Okay. So there's a lot of troubling things here in your message about this guy that I have to address with you. This whole idea, let's start with one of the most pressing things, I think. We'll start with his mentality. This is very troubling to me that you mentioned this, that his brother used to date 10 girls at once and cheated on his ex-wife a million times. Because I'm assuming you're talking about his older brother, right? Even if you're talking about younger, still. If you're talking about his older brother, someone that he's obviously going to look up to and he's going to want to emulate his life behind, good or bad, that's very troubling. It's very troubling because if this brother is close to him and he's the little brother especially, he's always going to feel like I need to show big bro that I'm just as cool as him, that I'm just as, capable as him, that I'm just as much of a man as him. The reason that that's very troubling for me is even if he wants to change his life, and his brother is living his life a particular way, he's going to feel pressured to continue living his life in a way that he thinks will make his brother proud. I know it sounds very strange and twisted. Rather than being a faithful, loving, caring man to just one woman, when he knows that that's not the way his older brother lives his life, and that if he tells him stories of how he's faithful and caring and loyal to just one woman, it's not going to impress his older brother. And if the friend, one of his best friends, is of that same mindset as well, it's only compounding the issue, right? Which the issue is essentially the peer pressure that in order for him to be have successful, or what he deems to be successful, friendships and a successful, brotherhood with his brother, and be seen as a cool kid as well, that he's going to have to exhibit toxic behavior in order to be able to feel cool in his friend group. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand why that's so bad? Because it doesn't allow him to even be comfortable being a good man to you. Because if his brother and his friend aren't living that lifestyle, that's not going to be something that's, championed in the friend group, right? It's going to be, hey, did you meet this girl? Is this celebrity wanting to smash? Is this IG model wanting to smash? Who's the baddest bee that you can smash this week or you can talk to this week, right? And if that's the point of emphasis on his friendship and with his best friend, and then his friendship with his brother, very, very bad for you, okay? I'll just be honest with you about that. Now, even aside from his mindset, let's address something that you didn't mention in this message, but I know because you sent in a lot of messages, and I'm sure the reoccurring chat knows as well. Your man is also of a different religion than you. So you're Muslim and he's Christian. And so that's already a point of contention that is going to have to be addressed, that you guys have yet to really address. The reason I'm pointing this out is because earlier up in your message here, you talked about this thing that's very concerning to me. When it comes to the idea of you going to med school, and you going to med school specifically in Florida, and the fact that he is not going to be close to Florida, he's going to be very far away from there, it's become such a point of contention that the two of you have actually gotten to a topic in which you don't even want to really discuss anymore. Let me point some very clear of your attention here. Whenever you find yourself in a relationship with someone and you have a issue that you guys get to such different extremes that you just say, look, honestly, let's just stop talking about it. And anytime it gets brought up, you have the same arguments and no one changes their point of view, and you always end the conversation with, let's just stop talking about it. You're now at a crossroads, because this is a major point of contention for a reason. And if the only solution for you guys to get through your relationship is to say, let's not talk about this, at some point, it'll become such an issue, it's impossible to ignore. And because you guys have no resolution, it will cause you to break up. I'm 100% guaranteeing you this. If you ever get to a point in your relationship where a specific topic becomes, hey, let's just stop talking about it, that will be the exact reason you break up. And now you're starting to actually develop two of those reasons. And you're still in the early stages of it. You're not even in year one yet. But you're actually developing two of those. One is you going to med school in Florida and him not living there, and how you guys are going to deal with that. Because you're not going to not go to med school. That's number one. Your dad's not going to let you do that. Your mom's not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you do that. No one's letting you do that. Okay. No one that loves you is letting you do that. So that's number one. And obviously you have your place where you probably want to be close to your family, or where it's the ideal place for you to be going to med school. So you don't need to be changing or adjusting that for a man that you might not even be dating in 1 year's time, right? So that's number two. Now, obviously that's going to create a wedge between you and him if his life is not in Florida. And especially if his life is very far from Florida, it's going to create an even bigger wedge. So I say all that to say, if there seems to be no way for you guys to merge or come to some sort of compromise, because your life has to be in a particular area, and maybe he feels his life has to go in be in a particular area, that's something where you guys are becoming incompatible lifestyle-wise. With religion, number one, right? And then also in your lifestyle in terms of location where you want to live. We actually talked about that in, I think it was last Thursday's show, where we talked about incompatibilities in a relationship. And we talked about both of those, right? Location can be a big one. If he doesn't think his life is in Florida, and you're talking about going to med school in Florida and assuming that you're probably going to practice as well in Florida, that means that's where you're planning your life to be at. And if his plan is not for his life to be there, you have a very big issue on your hands. And my advice to you is, if this can't get figured out for how this is going to look in the future in a way that actually makes sense and is realistic, the relationship's over anyways, and you might as well break up with them. Because the reason I'm saying that is, we talked about his mindset. We talked about we know he's sending OF stuff to his brother and his best friend, and they're sending him stuff, and he's like really obsessed with, the girls and as much girls as possible. If we think that this is your guy on a regular basis, and then we also factor in the idea of you not seeing him for extended periods of time and not being around you, and then he's going to be on his own, doing his own thing, living his own life, and he already has that mindset, what do you think that's going to lead to very quickly? Like, let's be for real. And so I'm saying all that to say you're on a like a one-way train to just like pain station. Okay. Not pound down, pain down. Okay. Pain down from the standpoint of it only really is going to end up one way with all of these different factors. Obviously, even including the fact that you're finding out a lot of things he's either lied to you about or, kind of changed the narrative to make it better or more palatable for you. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't like you or love you or actually want to be with you, but what I am saying is even despite that, he definitely has told you a lot of things that are untrue and omitted a lot of things to you, which if you're knowing that now, that's what you should come to expect for the future. And especially when the distance is, having you guys grow farther and farther apart, who knows what next he'll start lying or omitting in your relationship. You're noticing a pattern of behavior here, but what I want you to also understand is that pattern of behavior is most likely going to continue before it will just randomly end. So to be super honest with you, I think you have a lot of tough conversations you need to have with him. I'm not going to give you anything that I'm just going to say that you should forgive him and stop resenting him. Because I think one of your tough conversations should be religion, because that's already something you guys are at a point of contention about and how you're going to raise your children. And then the second point of contention should be location and, where you're going to go to med school and how you guys are going to make a relationship work if, you're going to do that. And then also after your life of med school, how is your lives going to live? Because if you're planning on practicing in Florida still and he has no intention of living his life in Florida, we're now at a crossroads. Because it's not just, hey, we'll think about it when we get to that point. You will graduate med school at some point. You will. And if you're with him that entire time, it's going to be even more painful when after you graduate med school, you realize your relationship's not going to work because where you want to practice and where he wants to live is two different places completely. Okay? Right? Izzy says no such thing as Muslim woman marrying non-Muslim man. You would think so, right? And so this is why I say, sis, you're in quite a conundrum. And a lot of questions need to be answered because you now have two places of your relationship that are reaching dead ends in, where you're not even being able to come up with a compromise here. So I think those need to be even addressed first before we can even talk about the other things. And I'm worried that without addressing those, I don't even think you'll be able to get to that other point, right? In terms of addressing those other things, because these already would be reasons to end the relationship, just being honest with you, okay? So things to think about there. Let's go on to our next, I gotta go back in the premium section. There's still lots of questions here. All right, so this one comes from Pansy, okay? Wow, Pansy's got bullet point questions here. Okay, a few questions. Hey Tommy, I have a few follow-up questions. Please answer them as you read. You might remember my last question about meeting a guy at the bar were a bit awkward. I may have given him the impression at first that I wasn't interested because I was feeling nervous and I left gracefully. Do you think my second attempt to get another drink and talk to him again was a lost cause? Has that ship sailed from the first encounter or is it salvageable? No, I don't think that having a second, like if you're at a bar and you have a conversation with someone one time, then you come back around and you have a second conversation with them. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. But what I don't want is I don't want you trying to like lead this in the sense of like, if you notice that when you come around for the second attempt, you notice he's not really very responsive to it for whatever reason, I don't want you to force it. That's all, right? On the second attempt, was I overdoing the waist touch to grab his attention, or is that reasonable flirting technique? I don't think it's unreasonable. I think it's a nice flirting technique, but then you have to be gauging how does he respond to that. Anytime you throw out a flirt, anytime you throw out a fish line, so to speak, you have to see if that person is taking the bait, if they're responding to it and reciprocating it. I know it's a feeling out process, right? It's not something that, I can write down in a notebook for you, but if you feel like they're reciprocating that flirtatious energy, then you can continue, giving him that energy. If you feel like you're throwing some lines out and he's not taking the bait or he's not reciprocating that type of energy, that's when you say, okay, clearly this is not, he's just not there. If you still remember my very first question on Discord about the dance floor embarrassment, you mentioned it's a definite no-no when I approached a man first, the dance floor guy who I talked to, and he asked me to dance, but later rejected me by leaving first and ghosting me. But why is it okay when I talked to the bar guy first? I asked what he was drinking and he asked me back. What's the difference here? The only difference is, from the way that you described the situation, you had a scenario in which I believe it was something that happened at the bar that created kind of a scenario where you guys were having a laugh or a conversation struck from what you guys were observing. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but let's just say, for the sake of example, right? It's different when you go up to a guy and say, hey, I think you're cute, or what's your name, or whatever the case may be, versus let's say you're walking next to a group of guys and there's one guy in that group you think is cute, and let's say someone runs by and they slip and fall and like a glass breaks, like they literally slip and fall like they're in a cartoon and they fall, and you kind of look in that guy's direction and you guys are like, oh, did you just see that? No, that was crazy. And you guys have a conversation that way. Like, that's not really you approaching him. It's kind of like a shared experience here that just leads, ironically right into a conversation. So your situation was very similar to that. That's why I differentiated it from going up and approaching a guy just off a cold approach, so to speak, right? I believe part of the reason I got so nervous with the bar guy was due to the confusion about the rules on showing interest in guys. So I'm looking for some clarification. Is it absolutely forgiven to give guys my number first, or are there exceptions? For instance, if I'm chatting with the guy at the bar, there's not enough buildup yet, and my friends suddenly pull me away to head to another spot. Is it acceptable to offer my number since the conversation ended so abruptly? Or should I simply consider it his loss for not being bold enough to ask for my number? What are some things I could say to him before I leave that could prompt him to ask for my number? So all you need to, so first of all, to answer your question, no, you're never going to give a guy your number unless he asks for it. Number two, in order for you to prompt him or give him some runway to do that, all you need to do is make it clear that my friends really want me to leave and we're going to go to a different spot or we're going home. Make it very clear to him that you're exiting this place, right? Like, because this is the thing. If you don't make it clear that you're leaving, he might think, oh, my friends just want me to come with them over here at the bar or over here to talk to these people, right? And he might be thinking you're still going to be at the bar. Your friends just want your attention temporarily. Make it clear to him, my friends are actually prompting me to leave. So right now, in this moment, I'm leaving here with them. You're not going to see me again for the rest of the night. I'm going to either a different spot or we're just going home, but we're exiting here. So make it clear that he's not going to see you anymore after this. Give him some time to kind of chat up. You'll say, oh, you got to leave so soon. Be like, yeah, my friends really want to go. They want to hop to this spot or blah, 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 right? And then be like, oh, damn. So maybe I can get your blah, 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 blah. That's usually what should happen if he wants to continue conversation with you. If he's not that interested in you and you say, I'm leaving right now in this second, and he's just like, okay, bye, see you later. Trust me, you don't need to prompt that guy or say anything about your number because that was the perfect opportunity to ask. He chose not to take it, and there's a reason he chose not to take it because it's very easy to just say, hey, let me get your number before you leave. And if he doesn't do that, he's not that interested in getting your number, truthfully and honestly. So don't bother yourself. You mentioned that guys go to bars to talk to and meet attractive women, but don't guys hit up bars with their buddies just to catch up? Yes, but also no. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a little step into man's world. Even meeting up with your buddies and catching up will always be made better if girls are around. Okay? Guys love being around girls, even if it's just to catch up. So trust you me, even the idea of saying, hey, we haven't seen each other in a while, let's go to a bar or a club. I promise you, if you put a bunch of beautiful women around them and you ask them, hey, is your time catching up better or worse? They will all say it's better if we're also talking to beautiful, sexy, seductive women while we catch up. Okay, so let's just be so for real here. We can assume that every guy is single, right? Absolutely not. Don't ever assume because you go to a club or a bar that the guys you're meeting are single or even emotionally ready to be in a relationship, okay? Even if you meet a guy on Hinge or Bumble, don't assume that he's ready to be in a relationship because it's a false assumption. It's just not true. Remember with the dance floor guy you suggested, I shouldn't assume he was single. Don't. Guys go to clubs all the time with ongoing situations, and then because their girl's not there, they want a good night out, a good little bit of fun, and they're not actually looking to sustain this over a long period of time because they're going to go back to their girlfriend, go back to their wife, or go back to their situation afterwards. That's just the reality of life. Turns out he wasn't. So isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Like I said, right? Very, very, very interesting. When guys respond like that, a lot of times it's because they're trying to avoid having this go on for a prolonged period of time. Or I had just gotten out of a relationship because I stalked his Instagram afterwards. How can we navigate this and tell the difference when out and about? It's very simple. You do nothing. From the standpoint of if a guy is approaching you and asking you for your number, he's showing intention about getting to know you. That is the number one problem with prompting a man by approaching him or by prompting him by giving him your number before he's ever asked you. Now you're unsure if he's even been intentional or had the intention of getting to know you because he was open to getting to know you. Now, obviously, some guys can ask for your number despite not necessarily being completely single, but it's a much better barometer when you go out and a guy is saying, hey, I like you, I'm going to approach you, and after I approach you, I'm going to ask you for your number, than you approaching a guy, because then he gets to just flirt with you as a reciprocation, and then you giving your number to him because then he just accepts it because you gave your number out. Do you understand the difference, right? What do you think about the idea that the game only applies to low value men? No, it applies to everyone. Okay, we're all playing the game in some way, shape, or form. Now, it's a little bit different depending on who you're dealing with, but it always applies. Okay, it doesn't change no matter the type of man. When you encounter a genuinely good man, there's no need to play games. That's a pipe dream. Okay. I'm not saying that you have to be thinking at all times of how you're going to do this and how you're going to do that. But the reason I'm saying that is because the way guys perceive you is how they'll treat you. So if you're aware of how guys perceive things, how they take different things, how they understand how to treat you based on how you treat yourself, how much self-respect you have, how you carry yourself, your understanding of that will put you in a much better light that will have even the good man treating you well as well, and not seeing you as a low value woman that he then mistreats you or, just doesn't even want you. Do you understand what I mean? So in a sense, you're always playing a game of understanding how am I presenting myself and is it in line with how I want to be seen, right? I hate to break it to you, but that's going to happen all the time, no matter what type of guy you meet. He will be so intentional and straightforward that any kind of strategy becomes unnecessary. No, that's a pipe dream. Because even with an intentional, straightforward man, you can come across so desperate and so needy that you turn that guy off of you. Think about this, and I want all of you to answer this question for me in the chat. Have you ever met a man, and before you actually met him, you're like, oh my God, that guy looks perfect. I love his style. I love his aesthetic. I love his vibe. Look at how he's walking around the room. Look at how he's talking to other people. And as soon as you met him and he opened his mouth, he went from being up here to all the way down here. He opened his mouth and the way he talked, you were like, oh no. He said something and the way he was saying it, you're like, oh no, you're not my vibe. The way he was and you're just like, oh, every word, every sentence got worse and worse and worse until you left that meeting with him going from, oh my God, this guy is everything I've ever wanted in a man, to leaving that conversation thinking, oh, not at all what I'm actually so icked out. I would never speak to him or go on a date with him. So the reason I'm saying that is if a guy can talk himself out of your Squirtle, out of your, you know what I'm talking about, right? If he can talk himself out of that, then you can also meet a guy even if he's the right guy, even if he's a perfect guy, and talk yourself out of princess treatment, talk yourself out of the way you want to be seen by him if you come across too desperate, too needy, too available, too everything that we talk about you shouldn't be doing. So if you want to call that a game, sure. But the reality of it is it always matters, regardless of whether you're meeting a perfect man or whether you're meeting a trash man, because it also matters for you as well. You can meet an amazing man that can talk himself out of being with you. The same way you can do that in the opposite sense. So that's just life, right? I know you'll likely say we need to protect ourselves regardless, but I want to share my concern. You mentioned in your show that when talking to men about their intentions or desires, we should seek clear answers from them. However, when the tables turn and they ask us the same, we should play it cool and respond with some ambiguity, giving them a word salad with no clear indication. My worry is, what if the guy I'm dealing with is a high-value man, intelligent, and expecting clarity from a woman? Will a smart man see through the ambiguity and think this girl doesn't know what she wants? So let's say hypothetically, a man asks you these questions right back at you, says, what about you? And then you're vague, right? What most guys will do is they'll try and ask you some follow-up questions, right? And then in their follow-up questions, you can still answer them in a way where you're answering it, but you're not giving him specifics on exactly what you want or expect him to do. Let me give you an example of that. Let's say you say, okay, you ask him, what do you want for yourself? What do you want for your life? And things like that. What do you want in a partner? He describes that to you in detail. He says, what about you? You're vague. And then he says, wait, that doesn't make sense. That's kind of vague. Now, and he says, hey, tell me some specifics of some of the things that you look for in a guy. This is an example of being specific in a still vague way. I like a man who's pretty intentional. So he knows what he wants, and then he also knows what he wants in terms of the relationship. I like a man who has, a clear understanding of what he's going for and a clear understanding of his goals, right? You're not giving him the play-by-play on exactly what he should do, but you're giving him vague specifics that can really apply to any scenario or any situation. He has to figure out what he's going to do with that, right? So I know it sounds super complicated, but you have to get experience in talking to people in order to be able to just flow in and out of talking, but in a way where it's like you're not giving away trade secrets. Let me give you an example of a trade secret. Meeting a guy and saying, one of the things I've always wanted is a man who will go on a date with me and surprise me with pink roses, not red roses, pink roses, because I rarely ever get pink roses and pink is my favorite color. I've always wanted a guy to take me to Nobu and surprise me with pink roses and, get me an Uber Black because that's what we're going to travel in. And we have this really romantic night at Nobu and he gets me pink roses and it has a card on it that says, love, John, because I've never gotten a card with pink, do you see how that's like a play-by-play on exactly how to please you in a way that makes you feel like, oh my God, this is exactly my fantasy as it was existing since I've been a little girl? Because then when he does that for you, I'm talking about at the very beginning of your relationship, when he does that at the very beginning of your relationship, you're going to think this guy is your perfect man. Meanwhile, he's just doing exactly what you said is perfect for you. But the problem is it brings him so much closer to your heart that you make the mistake of assuming he's perfect before he's actually shown you anything. He's just kind of skip past everything else, done exactly what you said you need, hoping that he'll get something for you. That's an example of giving away a trade secret, as opposed to saying, yeah, I like this, I like intentionality, I like direction, I like blah, 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 blah. And you can kind of figure out what that really means to you or how you would show me that. Do you understand what I mean? Could you explain why there is a double standard in terms of strategy and why the double standard works? Again, I'm worried the only men this will only work on men who are clueless and dumb. No. For example, wouldn't an emotionally intelligent man like yourself get turned off when a woman gives you a word salad? Please do not say you're an exception because we all know you're not an AI. Well, here's the thing, right? I understand. Let's say I asked a woman these questions. Now, here's the problem though. Me, myself, I possess some traits that most men aren't thinking about. So what I mean by that is You see how I advise you all to be like a snake charmer and like essentially put someone in a trance where when you're talking to them or having conversation with them, they actually can't pull themselves out of the fact that they're sharing a lot of information and it just feels like the conversation is flowing. I'm very good at that. So obviously when I'm talking to someone, I'm getting a lot of that information out of them regardless. So to be honest with you, it sounds weird, but I personally have never encountered a scenario in which someone doesn't really tell me things. Now, obviously, there's going to be a boundary where some things is just not for a first time meeting someone or an initial conversation. But my openness, my, I guess we can say, level of just allowing people to feel safe and expressive in that place and, building trust allows me to be able to get that information. Now, would I feel turned off if a woman was like, hey, I'm not going to tell you everything about myself before you've ever even met me or whatever the case may be? I wouldn't necessarily be turned off by it, but I definitely would want our relationship to grow in terms of her expression. I prioritize my woman's expression. So her being safe enough to tell me things about herself would be important to me. But for you, when you're going out on your dates, because it's not about dating me, it's about dating the average man who even the ones who are emotionally intelligent can still be put in a trance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Even an emotionally intelligent man can forget about how little he's learning about you and fall into the trap of talking about things of himself and then being so enamored with how much you are giving such an open and honest environment that they forget to ask you a bunch of questions. I'm telling you this, I've dealt with really smart, intelligent people that they'll be having a conversation with me and they'll be like, you haven't shared anything in a long time. Okay. And they only realize that after a while of sharing a lot of things. It's just a natural human occurrence. I think you're overthinking it because we discuss it in the show. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Is it ever okay to tell a man from the beginning on the first date, I'm looking for a serious monogamous relationship that will lead to marriage? The reason I'm going to say no is for a very, very trivial reason, just because it's already kind of understood, right? You meet a man and you go on a date with him. It's pretty much understood that that's what you're looking for. I don't think it's necessary to say that because what is the response you're going to get? He's most likely just going to say, yeah, me too. What's that going to do for you? Is that necessarily true just because he says, yeah, me too? No. So what have you gotten here? You've gotten an answer that may or may not be true. And you're still going to have to see anyways through his actions, whether he's serious about that. So what's the purpose of even saying that? I'm not saying expressing what you want is a bad thing, but I'm just saying when it comes to wanting a serious monogamous relationship, like, yeah. And you're not going to learn anything from his answer. Do you understand what I'm saying? I understand the dating apps may not be the ideal way to meet people, but if we're using them as many do, is it crucial to clarify intentions early on? No. It's crucial to get an answer from him of what his intentions are. It's not crucial for you to be like, hey, I'm looking for marriage. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. No. Because that's not relevant to whether or not he's looking for that. So I want you to be focused on being a questionnaire that you get the answers from him on whether he's looking for that. You already know what you're looking for. Okay. Should we directly ask about their intentions and where they're in life on the app or wait until the first in-person date? It's up to you. You can ask general questions about, what he does for a living, what he does for work, some of the things that he's just interested in, right? You can, great starter questions are what he does for work and what are his hobbies and what are some things he kind of wants to do, in the near future, some places he wants to go, because then you can get an understanding of some of the guys will be like, oh, I want to travel here. I want to go to Las Vegas. I want to go to Miami. I want to go to Bali. I want to go to here and I want to go to there. And it's like, okay, so you're in your traveling state, your traveling era. Okay, you go. But if he's in his era where he wants to do a whole lot of exploring and he's not really talking about a whole lot of, hey, I want to build something with someone. And he's more talking about, I just want to experience what life has to offer me. That's more of a state of, not being ready to be in a relationship. I'll just be honest with you. So I say all that to say when you meet men on Hinge or dating apps, if you ask enough questions, it'll start to become clear to you what level, what place someone is in their life. Now, obviously it's text, so you're not going to get to know everything, but when you start hearing certain keywords, it will become a lot clearer to you, but you have to be interested in asking questions to get those answers. Given that many profiles these days feature ambiguous phrases like looking for a short term. If you hear that, absolutely not. Okay. You hear short term anything, absolutely not. Open to long, no. Just avoid those guys. Or still figuring it out. Oh, absolutely not. Thank you for pointing those out. These are all the terms. If you see them on a dating profile, you guys know I don't advise you to be on dating apps, but if you see them on a dating profile, just unmatch that guy. I really mean that, because you have to understand, if a guy's putting that on his profile, he's explicitly trying to tell you, I'm not even trying to hide the fact that I'm not taking this serious. Right? So if he's putting that on his dating profile, that's going to be literally his out after he meets you and wastes your time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So don't even bother matching with guys who have that on their dating profile, because it's very clear they're not interested in building any. I just be super. No guy who wants to build something talks like this. Short term, open to long. You should be intentional. You want long, you find long. Still figuring out? No, none of that. Does it make sense to address any ambiguity up front so we can avoid wasting time on dates that may not lead anywhere? No, you just unmatch those people. I really mean that. Don't waste your time. Any guy who has that on his profile, don't even match with them. Don't even start a conversation. Because what are you going to argue about? Hey, be more clear in your ambiguous statement. No, you're not trying to convince someone to live the lifestyle you want. Okay. Should we ask about things like traveling, reasons for traveling? Remember, I asked a question before about a guy that just quit his job on the app. I feel if we have any confusion, rather than waiting for them to come up naturally during the date, please advise. Yeah, if a guy says he wants to travel, or let's say he wants to change his career or change his job, does he have a plan for that? If he has no plan and he's just saying something like, hey, I'm figuring it out, go ahead and unmatch him. I really mean that. Anytime a guy says anything about I'm figuring it out, right, and he's void of a plan, just unmatch him if you're on a dating app, or even if you're on a date. Because any guy who's in a I'm figuring it out stage needs to figure out those important priorities first before he starts dating. Nothing wrong with saying, I don't like my career path. I want to change it and start doing this. And my plan of doing this and succeeding at this is A, B, and C. And that's perfectly fine. But a man who says, yeah, I don't know how I feel about my job, I'm thinking about quitting, and maybe I'll just figure out what I want to do in the future, that's not a man with a plan. You can't work with that, okay? What are some questions we must ask on the app before meeting in person to vet the person? My advice is don't meet people on the app. You will always get fooled on the app because people can be anyone they want to be on the app. That's just that's my number one rule. Now, as it comes to questions that you can ask on the app, I mean, it's very basic. This is the problem. You're asking me a conflicting question that I know will not work. I can't give you an answer that will work, because even when you ask someone questions that you want answers to on the app, they can still easily lie to you, and you'll be void of a lot of context in their answers. Let me give you an example of that. Let's say you go on an app and you ask a guy, hey, what's your 5-year plan? Where do you want to be in 5 years, right? He can, this is crazy. This is really, I want you guys to understand we're in 2025. He can literally type in on ChatGPT, what is a 5-year plan? Or give me a 5-year plan for a construction worker, or a 5-year plan for a software engineer. And it sounds so sad, but I'm telling you this because people actually do it now. I'm so serious. They will respond with a ChatGPT generated answer. I know this is very disappointing to you, but both men and women are doing this nowadays. They're taking answers or questions that you will send them, and they're putting it in ChatGPT, and they're using it to respond to your messages. So the reason I'm pointing that out to you is because I want you to see how it can actually be quite pointless of an activity to try and get these answers from someone over message, especially over a dating app. Because they're on these dating apps all day, and they're getting a lot of very similar questions. And a lot of times if you ask them something, they're not going to bother to answer truthfully. They're just going to give you an answer they think you want to hear. Okay? I know it sounds very stupid and very silly. You're like, what, people will use ChatGPT to answer? They do. They do. I really mean that, right? P.S. I just came back from another bad date from an app where I felt I was being catfished. The guy doesn't look like his photos, so I'm feeling really discouraged right now. I feel like online dating is a complete waste of my time. Exactly, it is. It is. That's what I'm trying to convince you of, right? You don't want to be looking for strategies to meet men on dating apps because it's always going to be a waste of your time. But people you meet in real life can also lie about their intention too. How can we tell the difference? Also, people you meet in the wild can also be on the app at the same time. That's true. But think about this. When you ask someone a question, let's say hypothetically you went to a coffee shop and you met a guy and you had a really good conversation with him and you were asking him some of the same questions you were planning to ask someone on a dating app. When you ask that person that question in person, number one, they won't be able to prepare their answer for you. So that's good, okay? Because you'll get a more genuine answer that way. Number two, even with their answer, you'll get a lot more context than in a text. For example, when you ask someone a question of their 5-year plan in person, in their response, you'll actually see them processing the information and you'll see if that question makes them nervous, if they're very insecure or unsure about their answer in the way that their voice either trembles or is very steady. You'll see their eyes shifting back and forth. You'll see them get a little bit uncomfortable. You might hear them stuttering in a way that's very unnatural or clear that they're nervous about this question or they don't have a real answer and they're just kind of waffling around trying to figure out how to say the right thing. All of that context will help give you the real answer to the question. Do you understand what I'm saying? As opposed to someone being able to prepare a text for you for a question that's so important, then by the time you read over this bulletproof question, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But you don't realize behind that bullet point question or answer that he gave to you is a nervous, very confused man that really doesn't know what he wants. Do you see the difference? You're provided with so much more context that it gives you so much more clarity on what the real answer is. That's why in person is undefeated, okay? Right? And I'll give you a thing, okay? I'll give you a little bit of a cheat sheet here. Something I learned about myself is that for whatever reason, I work better in public spaces. So if I want to get something done, type something out, I want to get a project done and organized, if I go and sit down in a coffee shop or in a restaurant, and I literally bring my laptop and I work there in public, I will work so much better and harder. Now, in the process of me doing that, obviously, I get an opportunity to meet so many different people. So, Pansy, you may or may not be like this, but even if, you just have work to do, take your work and go somewhere public. That will give you an opportunity to stumble across people that you never could have stumbled across. I actually did this the other day. If you go on TikTok, there's an idea for you, Pansy, and any other one of you who are looking to meet new people. If you go on TikTok and you live close to a major city, type in co-work spaces or places, I should say, co-work places and then input whatever city you're in. So I'm in Toronto. Co-work places in Toronto, literally creators do reviews on different places, popular places to co-work in your city. So it'll be a nice aesthetically pleasing coffee shop or a nice aesthetically pleasing cafe or whatever the case may be, where people go there, they sit down, they eat, and they sit down, they drink coffee, and they sit down and they work. And it's crazy, right? TikTok can be such a resource if you use it the right way. That can be a place that you just go on a regular basis. You go there, you do your work, and I promise you, after a certain amount of time, you'll start seeing people, having conversations with them randomly, and you'll be able to even meet people that way just by being outside. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? So that's another option for you to meet people outside of just a dating app and for you to be meeting them in a better way than on the dating app, okay? But good questions there. This one comes from Barry Atlanta, okay? Let's see here. Okay. Need your advice. Barry Lana says, hello, Tommy, and everyone, hope you're doing well. So I went on a first date with a guy, and it's nothing too serious since I didn't know him before, but I'd like to know what I could change for the future because I'm confused and would like to fix this for the future. He took me to a great restaurant and picked me up. He asked me a lot of questions and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. We talked about common interests like sports, travel, and adventure activities, and we laughed a lot. He told me intimate things about his childhood, his father, his job, etc. So I tried to get as many pieces of information as I could. However, he was asking so many questions. He also complimented my appearance and my perfume, which made me think he was interested. After dinner, he suggested driving around the city for a bit before driving me home, which made me feel like he wanted to spend more time together. However, after the date, he didn't reach out. Not right after, not the next day. Before the date, he had no trouble texting me. So it felt a bit unexpected, especially after spending a great time together. I watched some of your videos beforehand and tried to bring up things I thought he'd enjoy talking about, but he kept asking me a lot of questions, so it was hard. It's okay. Sometimes when you meet a guy and he's also interested in you, he'll ask you a lot of questions, which that's obviously, that's a good thing. So just keep that in mind, right? Sometimes it can be a questionnaire, but on the bright side, you guys will never run out of anything to talk about because you'll be asking him a bunch of questions and he'll be asking you questions right back. So everyone has a lot to talk about. That's actually a good thing, okay? Now I'm wondering, did I do something wrong? I was trying to be myself, but maybe I should have handled things differently. No. I'm going to talk to you about this in a bit. Could I have overwhelmed him with too much about myself? But I was answering and asking about him so it could be equal. Do you think he was just being polite and didn't want to pursue anything further? Any advice you have for me in the future would really be helpful. Here's the thing about dating that you have to realize is in being yourself, for some people, they will not be able to get enough of you. And for some people, you won't be their cup of tea. But I know this is going to sound painful. You can't get too hung up on the people who you're just not their cup of tea. Like, and it's a painful realization to have because you think to yourself, well, I'm an attractive woman. I take care of myself. So I'm assuming every guy I meet will love me and be obsessed with me. Yes, but also no. Sometimes you might meet a guy and even though you're attractive, even though you're beautiful, even though your vibe is on 10, you're just not their cup of tea. That's okay. Okay. Even me. Sometimes I meet people, I'm not their cup of tea. They might not like the way I talk. They might not like the way I say things. They might not like the way I express myself. It's not their cup of tea. Some people will meet me as well and be like, oh my God, I love that guy. He's so amazing. I need to talk to him all the time. Okay. But that's okay. The most important thing for you to recognize is when you are someone's cup of tea based on their response to you and when you're not. And being able to let go of trying to force yourself to be anyone's cup of tea. Because if you're not, when I say cup of tea, I mean like anyone's type of vibe, right? The kids love vibes. If you're not someone's type of vibe, it's okay. If you see they're not responding to you in a way where it's like they really actually have the desire to talk to you or get to know you, it's okay. Just let it go, allow it to pass. And if they ever get to a point where they're like, hey, I really want you, I kind of, I want to talk to you, you're my cup of tea, then let it be. But if it's not that way, no need to force it. Because the reality of it is, the same way that guy had your number, he was able to talk to you and message you beforehand, is the same way he was able to do afterwards. So if he didn't do that, he chose not to do that. So nothing you're going to text him, nothing you're going to say, no catch up, no nothing you're going to do is going to make it so that he now wants what he never wanted before. And on your date, I just want you to focus on being yourself. Obviously, asking questions to get to know him better is great, but I don't want you to be so in your head about answering things so perfectly and being so perfect that you end up being like a very fake, inauthentic version of yourself, because that can also be a turnoff, right? I know we talk about strategizing a lot, but I don't want you guys to be so in your head that you come across very like stiff. You understand what I'm saying? And I know it takes practice, okay? When I go on a date, I'm not over here like, oh, so I got on my notepad, I'm very strategic. And this is the first question I'm supposed to ask you. This is the second. I don't go on dates like that, right? But it obviously takes practice to be able to just go in and flow, feel someone out, talk about yourself a little bit, be authentic to who you are, but also do a job of learning and understanding that person while also seducing that person. It takes practice. It's not a one-trick pony. It's not a magic pill. It's not a magic potion, right? But I will say, I don't want you overly concerned with being absolutely perfect on the date that you end up being stiff, because that can also come across very uncomfortable for other people who are on dates with you. So I don't necessarily think it reflects on you. I think you more just have to recognize if someone's not responding to you in the right way, it probably has something to do with something that's going on with them internally, or he could have a whole nother situation. You never really know with the people that you're dating these days, to be honest, right? This was, I guess, we live in the same state, North Dakota. Okay, so I'll check this afterwards to kind of follow up on this, not because I don't want to answer your question, sis, but I do want to give us some time to go on to the next one. So if I see anything relevant, I will answer it. I'll just send you a voice note about it. Okay, let's hop into our next couple of questions here. So I know we had one there was one here. I know Rach had one. Yeah, it was Rach. Yeah. This one. Okay. Rach. Looking at an old friend differently. Hello, Thompson and chat. I'm 32 and the friend in question is the same age. I became an active member of a youth group when I was around 15 years old, and that's when I met my friend. Okay. My brother joined about a year before me. He became closer friends with him. I stopped being an active member when I was around 22. I didn't do this one, right? When I was around 22. Throughout this time, I only ever saw him in a platonic light. I started going back to the Buddhist temple occasionally last year as I set the intention to volunteer once a week, wherever it may be. Most of the people that were part of the youth group have since stopped going, however. My friend continued to help during prayer functions. It was during one of those times that I bumped into him after having not seen him for years. However, again, it was platonic in my mind, on my end. Yesterday evening, I was at the temple to help with a large function when I ran into him. I was happy to see a familiar face and we started chatting. An old lady came up to him to ask something in another language and he started replying in that language fluently. As a side note, I traveled to 3 different countries in Asia last year and started to find men that can speak a second language to be an attractive trait because I still lack this skill. I've always known he can speak a second language. However, in that moment, I found it really attractive. Damn, you was getting wet for the different language? Okay. We continued to talk. That's when he mentioned he's now a senior software engineer. That turned you on? He's got that big boy money? I told him a person would have to be smart to do that job. And he said, no, you don't have to be smart, but you do have to be logical. As I looked at him and smiled while we chatted. Now you know he's got that big boy job. It sounds like his D a little bit bigger now when he's talking now. Anyways, I started to think, actually, he has a quite good looking I bet you did start thinking he looks quite good. After you heard him speak a couple different languages, you started knowing he got a big boy job. I bet he was looking very good, very dapper that day. I'm sure he was. Had a little sharper jawline, looking a little bit more in shape, huh? Okay, hey, all right, nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, it's funny how some things came to your attention after you. Okay. This whole chat was around 5 to 10 minutes before we separated to do different jobs we were assigned that evening. Part of the function was a prayer, and at this prayer, there were musical instruments that played. To give context, it's not your typical instruments played in Western culture, and more the type you would find in Eastern culture. He was in charge of playing one of them, and again, this is not new to me. He has always played this instrument well, and yet I started to find him attractive while playing it. Yeah? Yeah. He talking in that different language. He's saying, hola, señorita, ¿cómo estás? And you feeling different, huh? Mi casa, su casa, huh? Okay, then. You got a big boy job, you feeling a little different. Now, when he blowing on that flute, now you imagining a couple things. You fantasizing about him blowing on something else. You fantasizing about him putting his mouth. Okay, then. My dilemma comes when I started to imagine what being physically... what being physical with him would be like, and I had trouble picturing it. While we had known each other for over 15 years, we are not close. This means I don't know anything about his romantic life, and when I tried to picture what dating him would be that fast, it's happening that fast, okay, would be like, and if he would be a good partner, I came up with a blank. Well, it just started how many minutes ago, right? All this to say, would it be worth exploring this and risking the friendship to become awkward? Well, I think at this point, it had been a while since you guys had even seen each other, right? You're re-seeing him for the first time in a while. My brother is close friends with him. but he now lives in another country. Your brother is the one that lives in another country. That is the other aspect I'm unsure about. I know if I told my brother about how I'm feeling, it might make him feel uncomfortable, and I'm not sure it's worth letting him know when I'm uncertain about my feelings. I wanted to ask my friend his relationship status yesterday, but did not get the chance. My brother would know, but even so, I'm fairly certain he's single. He came back to visit last September, and he mentioned our friend wouldn't move. Wait, what? He came back to visit last September, and he mentioned our friend wouldn't move to the country he's living in now because he's helping his parents pay off their possibly joint mortgage, and not because he's in a relationship. Okay. Another question mark I have with this Tomisin is my friend never made a move on me or flirted throughout the time we were active in the youth group. Could this mean he never saw me in a romantic light too? If I do decide to test the waters with my friend, how would you suggest I do it? I don't know when next time I'll see him. I checked and realized I've lost his number. I don't use social media. Okay, so realistically, you have only one option, which is to throw some bait out when the next time you guys have a conversation with each other and do a little bit of flirting. Maybe you flirt about his looks, or you flirt about the way he's dressed, or you flirt about, him looking handsome, or whatever the case may be. Don't go overboard, okay? And then you're really just going to have to sit back and see how he responds to that. If you dial up the flirting a little bit, and you mentioning something about the way someone looks is always like a little bit of a key trigger to say, oh, like, it's not just like, hey, we're friends, shake hands, like we're buddies. If you mention something about him looking handsome that day, or whatever the case may be, that's a good way to kind of sneak in there. Like, I kind of like your vibe. Okay. Like, I think you a little bit, you look a little bit good. I like your outfit. I like your, whatever the case may be, how you want to say that. Now, after you say that, I'm only giving you like 1 or 2 opportunities to say that. I really mean that. After you say that once or twice, you throw that out there a little bit. If you don't see him reciprocating anything, or even trying to dial up the flirtatiousness with you as well, put it away. What I mean by that is, I don't want you going overboard in terms of like doing the pursuing here, that you set yourself down a spiral. I understand also that in a youth group, especially anything, you didn't say church, you said temple, but anything like religion related, most of the men aren't going to be assuming that this is a dating app. You understand what I'm saying? So if he's been knowing you from the youth group, and you guys have just been cool, or whatever the case may be, a lot of times, even if those men have interest in you, they might not necessarily do anything about it, because that's not the purpose of why you guys are here. And he doesn't think you might have any interest in him as well. So throwing that out there and just seeing how he responds to that will be your best bet, okay? And your only bet. And if after you throw some of that bait out and you say, oh, you look handsome today, whatever the case may be, you do a little bit of flirting and you see that he's not responding, put it away. What I mean by put it away is just stop. Like, don't continue to do it, and don't continue to try and go out of your way if you're seeing he's not really responding to that or getting the hint. Because even if he's just not getting the hint, you can't work with that, because you need him to have a desire for you and have a desire to pursue you. If it's not that serious for him, if he doesn't care that much, or if it's just like something where he's not focused on being in a relationship right now to even care about the fact that you're flirting, any of those reasonings, is just no point in continuing to try to do the man's job for him. Do you understand what I'm saying? And honestly, based on your situation, that is the only option for you. And I also agree with you. Don't mention this to your brother. The worst thing you can do, piece of advice for all of you, worst thing you can do when you like someone, or you're growing feelings for someone, or something's playing in your mind where you're like, damn, I kind of want to get to know that person. Worst thing you can do is tell other people, because they will pressure you into talking to them. And then it'll build it up so much where you feel like you can say anything. Like, how when you tell your girlfriend, I think that guy's cute, then the whole entire night your friends say, go up to him, talk to him, say something to him. She's nudging you, she's like pushing you in his door. And now you put so much pressure on it that a guy who you could just go up to and like, not go up to, but like just be around and maybe have a casual conversation with, now you're all nervous, and now you're all like, it just becomes so much unnecessary pressure. You make yourself be more awkward for no reason. Okay, so don't say anything to your brother. Just let it play out how it will play out between you guys. Let's hop into our next question here. I marked that one. Let's go on to our next one. Our next one was from LP Baby here. Okay. Okay. So this one is, what is this here? Why do they do this? Hi, Tommy. Can you please answer this skip question in link below? Wait, what? The outfit pics are attached. What's wrong with flared leggings? Need some outfit inspiration because I'm just a casual, comfy girly. My dump truck and hips looks weird in jeans and dresses, so I opt for leggings. Also, may I please have some gift ideas for straight, masculine, 35-year-old men who likes to be fit and active, learning French, has completed Ironman's triathlons, big on self-improvement, learning, likes wrestling, likes reading, has to work on his anger / arrogance, has a big ego, has masochistic tendencies, okay, has high tolerance for pain and stress, okay, so I'll give you the gift idea here first. A good gift idea, if he doesn't already have one, is a heart rate monitor. So if you type in on Google, heart rate monitor for running, it'll show you one. I believe this one is, there's a really popular one that a lot of people use. I can't remember the name. Chat, any of you that run, if you know the name of this really popular, the brand name of this really popular heart rate monitor that a lot of runners use, I can't remember the name. It basically, the monitor, it's not a Fitbit. It's not a Fitbit. There's a specific name for this brand, but it goes around your chest, right? And it straps around your chest, and it's like a little bit of, it's an electromagnetic monitor. Garmin makes one. I do know they make one. There's another one that makes one. It goes around your chest. Oura Ring is too expensive for what, an Oura Ring would be good, but it's too expensive for what she's trying to do with this guy. This one's cheap. Polar. So the Polar Pro, it's basically an electromagnetic heart rate sensor. What it'll do, just to kind of break it down in simplest terms, you know, your Apple Watch is taking your heart rate from your wrist. It's less accurate and less efficient. If you're wearing a heart rate strap, it goes directly on your chest like this. And, well, you can't see my chest, but it goes directly underneath, you know, like your chest right here. And then it's taking electromagnetic signals from your heart. It connects to your Apple Watch or your iPhone. And then when you're running or you're doing some sort of activity, it'll be having a more accurate reading on your heart rate, okay? And they're under $100. So great gift to get that he will actually want to use and will be, you know, something that he can use on a regular basis. That will be something that actually works for him since he's a really fit triathlons, Ironman. Trust me, if he doesn't already have one and you get him this, something he will definitely use because it's very useful to his already existing lifestyle. Anyone that does stuff like this, they love to monitor their heart rate. They're always interested in the stats and the numbers of how their body's working and things like that. So that is definitely a great gift to get him. Let's go on and continue reading. Honestly, at this point, I'm thinking I'm just getting this man a balloon and a handwritten card in French. By the way, the Polar Pro device I'm talking about is available on Amazon. So very under $100, and it's not very, you know, very thoughtful, I would say, for what he does. And a handwritten card in French, like you suggested. Kindly send back your feedback on any gift ideas. It sounded like you weren't feeling the French children book, only because I love giving gifts that someone will use, if possible, on a daily basis, or at least on a weekly basis, because then two things can happen. One, anytime they use that thing, they'll think of you. And then number two, it's like a really nice, it's a good gift in the sense that, like, when I give it to you, you don't just, oh, thank you, I appreciate that, and throw it away. It's like you get the gift and you're like, wow, my life is actually better because of this gift. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? So I think that will be an example of something like when he gets it, it's not just, oh, thank you for the gift. He's like, damn, I was using the heart rate that you got me for my birthday, and oh my gosh, this is so much more accurate. This so much helped me so much, right? Like I always love giving gifts that are more like that than they are like, oh, thanks for the French book. I read it once and never read it again. It's collecting dust now. Basically, he never got read bedtime stories as a kid. So I thought that'd be nice and thoughtful. It is. I'm just saying, I'm speaking on how I like to give gifts. You don't have to do what I'm advising you to do, okay? Like if you think that's a good one, then you can give that one as well. Especially gives him a chance to practice his French. That's why I suggested it. It can also still be a good gift, right? Also, my mom wants to go to his birthday party. Wait, what? Chill. Let's chill. If I'm there to extract info, would having her there be a good or bad? Let's chill for a bit. I'm not saying like your mom can't meet his mom, but let's let you meet his family first. And then afterwards, we'll ease in your mom, him meeting your mom, then we can combine families. Let's just chill. We don't need to do everything at once, because when you have so many things you're juggling at once, you don't get a chance to dig deep in any one direction, okay? Latino people can be so comfortable in inviting themselves to parties and just going to things like this. Let's save this one. Let's not do that yet. Recall, he's met my mom twice at a show and at a wedding, and she invited him and me. Basically, Latinos are just extra and comfy to attend parties like that. Any excuse to have a good time, eat, and catch up is just part of my culture. Not necessarily speaking for Latino culture for context. My mom is lit basically, and she doesn't want me to feel uncomfortable and awkward at the party. But I don't know if her being there will be a good thing or a bad thing as I extract info. I just think let's table that for now. I don't want it to become so overwhelming with you that you're thinking about him meeting your mom. You haven't even met his mom, and then you're already thinking about your mom meeting his mom and what that's going to be like. Let's take it one step at a time. Family introduction is great, but like you already have so much to learn from his mom. Like we need to give you some space to learn from his mom first before we have your mom meeting his mom, right? Like it can become very confusing very fast. Questions summarized. So the outfit ideas. Right. Outfit ideas for outdoor picnic at the park depends on the temperature of where you're going. Right. Because clearly I can't really dress myself and I don't see a problem with flared leggings. I'm being serious. Please help me, Tommy. So obviously this is kind of a style thing. My whole thing is you were talking about going to a birthday party, and I would love for at the birthday party to, like, if you're going to show up at the birthday party as his potential girlfriend or the girl he's talking to or taking seriously, we want keep in mind, I don't know if you mentioned you met his mom before, but if this is kind of the first time that you get to be around his family, like you want to show up and have them being like, damn, bro, you done snatch you up a night. She a good, attractive looking girl. She look good. She dressed nice. Like she looks well put together. First impressions are important. Like let's just be whether you're a man or a woman. So when you're you're the one that's going to meet or be introduced to his family, like you would want to be presenting yourself in a way where people are impressed with you and are saying, damn, bro, you better make sure you treat her right. You better make sure you actually do this the right way because she looks like a serious woman. You want that to be their impression of you. You want that to be his mom's impression of you, because then when she's advising him or talking to him about you, her idea of you is going to be playing in her mind from when she first met you. And you want that to be a really good, nice first meeting where she takes you seriously and she thinks you're a put together woman as well, right? Impressions and perception matters a lot. So I'm not saying, don't dress in a way that makes you uncomfortable, but dress in a way that makes you actually feel sexy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let's just not do the flared leggings. So if it means a different type of dress, if it means just a different type of pants, even if it's not jeans, even if it's like something that you'd wear for business casual, whatever the case may be, wear something that makes you feel sexy, that you think to yourself, yeah, like I'm looking good. Okay. You don't have to be showing a whole bunch of stuff if that's what makes you uncomfortable, but wear something that makes you feel sexy. Like I'm not in your wardrobe. I don't know your skin complexion. I don't know your figure. So all of that would be things that I'd have to know in order to give you an actual good suggestion. But for the most part, you have to really decide to yourself, what do I actually feel sexy in? What do I get compliments in the most? Okay. Outside of leggings. Okay. What do I get compliments in the most whenever I do go out? That's another way to kind of use a barometer and a meter to ask yourself what you should wear. Because whatever you get compliments in the most, trust me, people are seeing you. So if they're seeing you and they're going out of their way to say something about how you're dressed or how you look, then it definitely means something about what you're wearing is working. Okay. And I'd rather you go to this birthday party in a way where people are like, damn, I remember that girl because she was looking good, rather than, going to the party and being like, oh yeah, you're a little girly girl. Yeah, she's whatever type of thing. Right. Please. First impression. I see people in the chat. No leggings. Please. First impression, no leggings. Right. I know I'm a guy and I'm telling you what to wear, but please, for the first impression, do something that, people will remember you by, be like, oh, she a stunner. I'm not even just talking about men. I'm talking about even his mom and the other family member be like, oh, she a stunner. You know what I mean? Like, damn, like, yeah, you must, I don't know what you was on that day, right? Oh, so these are your picture examples. Okay. Are these appropriate for a picnic? I think all of these would be nice for a picnic. Okay. I don't see any problem with any of these for a picnic at all. Okay. Now, okay, I'm going to say something. It's going to sound very man of me to say, but let's just be real. Okay. We're not here to beat around the bush. If you want to dress to impress, my advice to you, dress to impress by, look, we all have our own version of a competitive advantage. So if you know you have particular assets that are, how am I going to put this? You're blessed in certain areas. Okay. If you know you're blessed in certain areas and you're trying to really knock a man's socks off, obviously you might as well take advantage of the areas in which you're blessed in and, you know, allow those places to show if you're comfortable with that. I'm not telling you have to show anything if you don't feel like showing it. But obviously, if you're blessed in certain areas, why not allow those certain areas to be shown, even in a subtle way? It doesn't have to be like, oh, you're showing it to everyone, it's all out on display or whatever the case may be. It can even be more subtle. So what I mean by that is if you're someone, so let me just give you this is a little bit of fashion thing here. Notice that all of these models here are very petite women. Now, obviously, petite women who have more slender bodies and they're less voluptuous and curvy naturally would want things that are a little bit more flowy because it fills out their figure and it allows them to have a little bit of curves in a way that, you know, is more attractive, if that makes any sense, right? They don't want to look like a box. So them wearing something extremely tight and extremely, you know, on their body is not going to allow their curves to be accentuated. Notice how these are pretty petite women and everything that they wear is very, you know, snatched in around the waist. And then it's flowy around, you know, the buttocks and the hips and then even the bust here, right? Because they're trying to accentuate the hip to kind of waist ratio. And because they're slender, obviously they want to take advantage of showing off the slender, their asset in terms of having that slender waist. And then when allowing things to flow, it creates more of a curvy, voluptuous look, right? As opposed to if you're already rocking a voluptuous natural look, you would want to wear things that are a little bit more fitting simply because if you're already voluptuous, there's no point wearing something that flows like this where you don't get a chance to see your beautiful voluptuous body, if that makes any sense. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not a fashion designer, but it just, if that makes any sense to you, right? Like think about that as well in terms of thinking about what you want to wear and what would look the best on you, right? You know, you want to wear things that make you look good. For example, for me, I have really broad shoulders. So if I wear something, I'm going to kind of be thinking about the fact that I have broad shoulders and looking myself in the mirror when I wear this versus when I wear that. Is that complementing that or is that kind of like taking away from that, right? And think different items will complement my body in different ways. So you have to kind of ask yourself that question. You said I have a Coke bottle shape. I'm small, medium. I have a big booty and less yitties. So you're probably gonna want to wear some sort of amalgamation of, this is gonna sound, I'm not a fashion designer, chat. Think about it like this. You have a voluptuous lower half and you have smaller yitties. So the thing that you wear on the top is probably you're gonna want to wear something blouse related, something a little bit looser, a little bit more, you know, like this almost on the top. And then you're gonna want to wear something on the bottom that's a little bit tighter. You understand what I'm saying? Just to show off those curves. And then in the area where you might not be as voluptuous, something flowy would be nice to kind of, you're not necessarily trying to bring attention to it because that's not one of your assets, so to speak, if you get what I'm saying. I'm not a fashion designer, so maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about, but just something to think about, right? Let's hop into our next question. I appreciate the fashion related questions there. That very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna mark this as read. Let's go on to Miss Girly Girl. Okay, Miss Girly Girl question related, pineapple related. So that means sex related. Under 20, leave. Okay. Girly girl, please leave if you're under 20. So you're 26 and the man you're dating is 29. I have a question about pineapples. When my boyfriend and I have pineapples, he doesn't have a lot of cum. Why is that? I asked him if he was wanking himself off a lot. He says not so much. What does not so much mean? I don't really know what is not so much, so you're confused like I am. I asked him if he was watching a lot of corn videos. He said no. Approximately once a week, even less. Okay. We have pineapples twice a week on average. How old are you guys? Ooh, 20s. Okay. I wish it could be more. Ooh, we're not in a good place here. But I still don't understand why he doesn't have a lot of cum coming out of his thingy. My ex situationship, he was the only guy I was seeing. So I only have him to compare to pretty much. That I was seeing once or twice a month for years, had a lot of cum. I loved it and it felt so good. Also, my ex situationship was a 15 out of 10. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Like in the experience? Legit. I was floating in the sky. Oh Lord, that was so amazing. Okay. I would also like to add that my boyfriend says depending on the girl, we men choose to give good D or not. That's true only from the standpoint of if you're having a one night stand with the girl, you're not going to give her your A game. If a girl is your girl, sorry, let me speak for me. For me, if I had a one night stand with a girl, I'm not bringing my A game. But if I'm sleeping with a girl on an ongoing basis that I deem to be my girl and I want a romantic relationship with, oh, best believe she getting A plus D game, plus the extra bonus on the side. Okay, right? Like she getting the works. Okay, she getting the whole experience. But I say that to say it's true to a certain extent. But if you're his girlfriend, you should be getting A plus D game. So I'm concerned you're not getting A plus D game from a man who calls himself your boyfriend. That shouldn't be the case. Okay. If we like the girl really much, we give her good D. Yeah. If that is a one-time thing, we don't care. So exactly how I just said. Honestly, I've never heard such a thing. So I don't know if he's not this up or not, or if it's actually true, 100% true, but you're his girlfriend. So you should be getting A plus D game. There should be no question about whether or not you're getting A plus. I'm concerned now. Like, obviously, he's not going to be. Not every time you guys do it will be necessarily A plus D game, but on a consistent basis, you should be getting A plus D game. I'm very confused why he's saying that as if that's the justification. You're his girlfriend. In my case, our sexual life is 3 out of 10. You said with your situationship it was 15 out of 10, and this man it's 3 out of 10. Let me ask you a question. Are you orgasming at all? 3 out of 10 is like that's low. We're talking 3 out of 10. We're talking not only are you not, or this is my understanding, you're not only are you not orgasming, but you're not even the act of doing it is not very enjoyable for you and your mind. That's 3 out of 10 to me. So I'm very concerned. Does this mean that he doesn't care? Have you expressed that to him? Sometimes it's better than others, but still, he doesn't please me like my ex used to please me. He used to crave me and please so hard. It was amazing and we were so compatible in bed. So yeah, clarify me on this, Tommy. Update, it did get a little better, but I just came to the conclusion that he is pretty vanilla. Boy. Okay, we're gonna be in sex ed today when I answer this question. And I am not at all. I am actually a freak. Clearly. He also keeps his eyes closed when we do it sometimes. What the F are you saying right now? What did... Okay. Let me stand up and take a break for this one because okay. Okay. Brother closes his eyes when he's doing it with a woman. I'm concerned. Okay, let me take a stretch out for this one. Okay. Buddy closes his eyes. Tell me, girly girl, does he turn off the lights too? He tell you, please dim the lights. Don't turn on the lights. I want it to be dark when we. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, man. How do you guys end up in situations like this? Okay. When you say he closes his eyes, what do you mean by that? Like, is he okay? Because I'm assuming he's on the top. So let's we're in sex ed. So let's paint a picture here. Like, he's really on top of you, jackrabbiting, and not really paying attention to where things are going or how they're flowing. He's just, yeah, you like that? You enjoying that? Yeah. Like, how would he even have any semblance of understanding if this is going well? If his eyes are completely closed on top of you, like how is that even working out? Okay. Sometimes, not all the time, but still, that's very strange. I don't know why. I don't know either. Low-key, it makes me feel insecure. I don't want to say this because I feel like I'm going to put things in your mind that may or may not be true. Okay, I'm going to say something. I don't want you to take it to heart. I'm just saying it because it just dawned on me this is a possibility. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to freak you out. I don't even want to, should I say this, chat? I don't want to say it to you because I know you're going to immediately think it's this and you're never going to be secure again when you guys are doing it. That's why I'm worried. I don't necessarily want to say it. What might be happening is he's closing his eyes to picture something or someone in his mind to like help himself actually like orgasm or stay hard. That's what I'm worried about, because when you're talking about on a consistent basis, the closing of the eyes, it also makes me think he's trying to picture something specific, which is why he's closing his eyes. The problem with that is if he's closing his eyes with you, he's definitely picturing something that's not you, something or someone that's not you. Because if it was you, he would just look at you in order to get himself stimulated. So let me describe to you what I mean. If you're really attracted to a woman and she really turns you on, something like kissing her will get you hard, okay? Hard again if you're feeling soft. Something like touching her or having her in a particular position, or even if you really like the girl, looking in her eyes, that'll get you hard, that'll get your thing going. But if you're closing your eyes with a woman, that means you have to take your mind elsewhere in order to be hard with this woman. So now I'm concerned that every time he closes his eyes, he's taking himself to a different place with a different person in order to stay hard in the present with you. We have a really big problem on our hands if that's the case. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's why I say I'm worried about saying that to you, because I'm scared now you're going to think anytime he closes his eyes, you're going to be freaked out and you're not even going to be able to enjoy sleeping with him anymore. That's my concern, okay? Because I don't think maybe you didn't think of that before. Why would he do that? Is he thinking about someone else? So yeah, it's that I'm worried that might be the case. I do personally. Wait. Wait. What are you what are you trying to say here? I do personally. I usually think of my ex situationship because he was making me come. Okay. The cat's out the bag. Girly girl, this is very bad. This is very bad. What's happening? This is very bad. If you're spreading your legs for your boyfriend and you're using the thought of another man to get your self lubricated, this is very bad. Very, very bad. Let's even eliminate him from this equation here for a second, and let's just focus on you and your thoughts. One, let's talk about sexual energy and manifestation. Every time you have an orgasm while thinking of that other guy, you're actually bonding yourself deeper to that other guy. Do you understand what I'm saying? It sounds very strange. But as you're orgasming and you're using him to orgasm or come or whatever the case may be, you're just attaching yourself more to that other guy, not this guy that you're actually with. So this guy's kind of like a blow up doll to you. That's number one. Number two, right? As time goes on and you continue to need the thought of this other guy in order to, like, you're only going to go downhill, right? This is only going to go downhill because subsequently, as time goes on, you're going to lose more and more respect for this guy. And he's going to turn you on less and less to the point where you're going to need so many other things to. My biggest concern here is that if this guy is doing it for you so little that you have to imagine another guy while sleeping with him, is that some other coworker, some other friend, some other whatever will come into your life and he'll have that big D energy that you've been craving, and you're going to get lubricated for him instead of your boyfriend. And then we're going to be in a very bad position because you can't as a woman mentally be fantasizing about a man that's not your man. Because if you're doing that while being with this guy, you're cooked. Because as a woman, your mind is everything. So on top of the fact he's already not pleasuring you enough as you want, even when he tries to, you won't be able to orgasm because your mind's not there. Your mind's with a different man. You have to understand how powerful this is for you as a woman. Your mind really has to be there for you to even orgasm. It doesn't matter how well he's moving his tongue. It doesn't matter how well, he's using his hands. It doesn't even matter how big his D is. If your mind's not there, you're not going to come. So that's why I'm saying if you're imagining another man and that's what's turning you on and getting you going and he can't, it doesn't matter if he's doing all the things to pleasure you, because without the thought of the other man, you won't get there. I'm telling you, your mind has to be activated. You're not going to get there without it. So this is very bad. You're on a road to failure in this relationship here, especially as it relates to sexually. And why he doesn't want to have sex, initiate sex, but still very cuddly. We cuddle a lot. After sex, before sex, we do. And why is he putting an effort to, why is he putting an effort to our work on our relationship? He does things for me. He always initiates talking to me every day. Like, it doesn't make sense and got me confused. So I tend to put our sexual life aside and focus more on the rest of the relationship. But next comment. Due to the lack of compatibility between him and I want to break up with him. I think you should. I think you should. I think that both of you are actually sleeping with each other and thinking about other people. I think you need to break up. I really do. And Tomisin, I can't. What do you mean you can't? I don't know why I can't. How to find the strength to break up? I think he cheated on me. Where did this come from? This was yesterday. I think he cheated on me. He spent the night in a hotel a few days ago. Why? And got home at 7:30 a.m. Why was he in a hotel? And then later during the day, he went to a museum. The museum he brought me on for our first date. When I confronted him, I had to pull the information out from him, and it took him 30 minutes to tell me what happened. Why was he in a hotel in his city? You're cooked. No, you're cooked. This is over. This is over. I don't know how this all happened. This is over. And I don't think he told me the truth. He didn't. He told me he was with his boys at a hotel. And he did not come home because he was drunk. So, but okay, let's follow the logic train. He didn't come home because he was drunk, so he stayed in a hotel. So in order to get from where he got drunk at to the hotel, he needed transportation, right? So he transported himself via Uber or getting a drive or whatever the case may be. He transported himself from whatever bar or club he got drunk at to a hotel instead of transporting himself from whatever bar or club he got drunk at to home. Does that make logical sense to you? Like let's be adults here. If he's getting drunk in his city, why didn't he just transport himself back home? And then he went to the museum by himself. Yeah. I think he's lying. You're a smart cookie. And a part of me wants to believe him. Really? Because what if he's telling the truth? He's not. Okay, he's not. People don't do weird things like this unless something is happening. What I mean by that is he didn't just wake up and say, I feel like going to the museum by myself. Do you understand, like, as a man, let me explain something to you, because you're a woman, so maybe you don't know this. As a man, when you have a woman that you actually care about and you love and you cherish and you like spending time with, even if you might want to go somewhere by yourself or enjoy that time by yourself, you still have a lot of things that you want to bring her to. And even more so, especially if you enjoy it, you love the idea of sharing that enjoyment with your woman, if you love that woman. Now, if you have some sort of detachment from her, or you're not as invested in her as a loving relationship, should have investment in, then yeah, maybe you'd rather go to that place by yourself. But this is very unnatural behavior for someone who loves and cares about you as a man. It's just to wake up and just say, yeah, I went to a hotel, did whatever, and then I woke up, I wanted to go to the museum by myself. Let's be for real. Like, that's very unnatural, right? My heart wants to believe him. Yeah, but you shouldn't. I'm telling you, and in the chat will tell you as well. I do not know what to do. You know now. It's to break up. You know now. I was expressing for the first time I think you meant to say, for the first time, what it is to be delusional. I think I have to break up with him. No, you know now. But I cannot find the strength for it. Just rewatch this over and over again and realize how in deep you are and how far gone your relationship is. I feel like my world is falling apart. What's falling apart? You barely even orgasm anymore. What's going to happen? You go from never orgasming with a blow-up doll that inserts himself inside of you at a 3 out of 10, and then now you're alone and you still don't orgasm? What's the difference? Can I text a breakup instead of calling? No, come on. You're an adult. How old did you say you were? 26? You're an adult. Come on. You're 26 years old. We're adults. You don't do breakup over text. Come on. Have some respect. I can't have the strength for being on the phone. Help me, please, Thompson. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to send him a text or a call and say, hey, actually, I'd rather be a text, because if you call, he's going to ask you to tell him what you want to talk about on the phone. Just tell him, hey, I want to meet you in person and I want to, have a conversation with you. And when you meet him in person, I want you to bring all your stuff, his stuff that's at your place. Any toothbrushes, underwear, clothes, socks, jewelry, whatever the case may be. That way there's no like, oh, I have to still get this from you. I have to get that from you. Return to him everything that you have of his to him. And then let him know, like, look, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you've done for me. I appreciate this relationship, but I just don't think that we're compatible. And I don't think that we're really working. Look, you even said it yourself, right? Say everything that you really feel. I don't think we're compatible. I don't think that our relationship's working. We're struggling sexually. And I don't think that our romance is there, whatever the case may be. And, if he says, oh, but we can fix it, but we can this, but we can, no. Clearly you've tried that. Clearly this thing's falling apart and it's just not working. You have to understand, like, in relationships, as sad as it is, not everyone that you date is you're going to end up with. And understanding when to cut your losses and when someone is no longer compatible with you is such an important thing for your life and for your time and energy, because you can't continue wasting it when you know in your heart of hearts this is just not going to work. Like, I don't care even if he wasn't doing this hotel thing and he wasn't going to the museum, you're not going to be able to sustain a relationship in which you're closing your eyes to imagine and fantasize about another guy to orgasm or to get yourself wet. That is completely unsustainable. It's also unsustainable if he's doing that as well towards you, closing his eyes and imagining another woman or another man, we never know, in order to keep himself hard or stimulated with you. That's just not going to work. There's no way around that. Like, you know, I get it. Sex is not the only thing that a relationship consists of, but sex is very, 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 very important. Okay? Maybe more important to me because I learned today that my Mars house is in Scorpio. My Mars is in Scorpio. So for me, I'm extra freaked out. But even for the everyday average person, sex is still important because sex is bonding, sex is intimacy. So if your sexual compatibility is way off with this guy, not gonna work. Doesn't matter how nice he is. Doesn't matter how many times he compliments you. Doesn't matter how many places he takes you out to. Doesn't matter how much money he spends. If you're freaked out, because you said you a freak-a-leak, you like that freak stuff. If you're freaked out and he's on his vanilla vibe, nothing he will do for you will work. Because all you'll be thinking about is, I want you to throw me against a wall. I want you to spit in my mouth. I want you to choke me till I pass out. I want you to call me a whatever, okay? And all he's going to be thinking is, why would you want me to do that? That's so disrespectful. That's so nasty. That's so disgusting. And you're going to be so frustrated, you're going to want to rip your hair out. You're not going to be able to get anywhere in a relationship like that because every time you ask for those things, he's not going to be able to compute that or understand that or give that to you. When you tell him to call you a dirty SLUT, he's going to be like, but I don't think you're dirty and disgusting. I think you're so pretty and beautiful. You're going to be so dry. You're going to be so frustrated and you're just going to be like, just stop this. And you cannot live like that. Okay? So this relationship's over. I want you to take this, rewatch it 90 million times if you have to build up your courage and know what you need to do. But that's what you need to do. There is no version of a relationship in which you guys are that far off in your romance. It's not going to work. Okay? You guys are nasty in the chat. Okay. Anyways, chat, that's the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, whether it be, that was definitely an over 20 question. For those of you, whether it be in our free section, our premium section, or in our private section, you can always ask me a question by going into the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube, and you can ask me a question that way. Okay. For those of you who are wondering how to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is just above my head on the top right corner of the screen if you're watching me on TikTok, and it's also in my description if you're watching me on YouTube. It's just Tomisin_Atub. Very simple, and you can follow me there. I've been getting a lot of weird DMs lately, a lot. Okay. Anyways, for those of you who want to rewatch the show, if you're watching on TikTok. My YouTube channel is just above my head. It's just my name. Type it in Tomisin, Tomisin. And then when you go into my YouTube channel, you'll be able to go into the live section of my YouTube channel. You'll see this live stream and all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. So if you missed any parts or you came late or anything like that, you can always go onto my YouTube and you can watch and rewatch the show there as well. And you'll have the YouTube and the TikTok chat embedded in the video, so you'll see all of the amazing conversation that we have during the show. There's a lot of jokesters in the chat, so trust me. All right, chat. For those of you wondering when I'm back on again on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because the days are Monday and Thursday when I'm live. So I'll see you again on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until we meet again, I bid you adieu. Hasta la vista, sayonara, bounty, ciao, salam, arrivederci, adios, bon voyage. And I'll see you again on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We had a lot of sex questions today. You guys are freaks in the chat. Y'all got to get your stuff together. This freak chat I got over here. I'll see you later. Okay.